His mic's not on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'm looking for Poppy and roll call.
Well, is the recording going?
They're both gone.
Is there?
Judge panel is empty.
Ben could do the roll call.
Yeah, Mayor, do you just want to do it, maybe?
No, I didn't think.
Oh,
Here they are.
You're so good.
we just did the pledge.
Did you really?
Yes.
Okay, so are you
Does
ready
that-
for roll
No,
call?
we did the pledge.
I don't know. Roll
Everyone
call.
here, and everyone here is bigger than YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Roll call.
Pappenfort,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
Critelli.
Present.
I have to unmute my Zoom. Martin. Here. Fontana.
Here.
Nacarado.
Here.
Mayor Shore.
Here.
A quorum is present.
And that will take us to the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on that this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I move to combine and approve the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Fontana. The motion is to combine and approve the items on the consent agenda. Further discussion?
Fontana.
Yes.
Pappenfort.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
Critelli.
Yes.
Nacarado.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And that will bring us to citizen comment. And this, what I'm going to say now will apply also to the public hearings as well. And that is, this is an opportunity for council to hear from our community. Public will be limited to 3 minutes each. I'm going to hold everyone to that 3 minutes. We have a lot of people signed up. I'm really happy that everyone's here to exercise the First Amendment rights. But in fairness to everyone, at 3 minutes, I'll say thank you, and we'll go on to the next person. I would also say, if we get into subjects where by the time you get up to speak, maybe 5 or 6 or 10 other people have echoed similar comments, you're more than welcome to say, I agree with what the people prior to me said, and it will have probably more impact than hearing it again, but that's totally your choice. Council may not respond to your comment this evening, but rather they may take your comments and suggestions under advisement. Questions will be directed to the appropriate department for follow-up. If necessary, the city administrator will correct the public record. And I do have one request I heard from an audience member tonight. Apparently at a recent meeting, there were a lot of people, or a few people anyway, where their cell phones were going off during the meeting. And I would just ask everyone at this time to make sure your cell phones are silenced, because it was distracting for some folks the last time, and that'll apply to all the different, really for the entire meeting. So with that, we have Jim Wilson, who is here to entertain us.
Or do some kind of auction, probably.
I don't think he's going to be auctioning Love's paraphernalia.
Do you need something auctioned? We could do that. Honorable Mayor and distinguished council members and those online, thank you for listening. Not only tonight, but thank you for listening on S Mountain. My family had pictures of us. It was our family reunion on the S Mountain, and that was pretty cool. So thank you for listening. You should have received a letter that had Christy and my names on it, considering on the Love's application, so you should have that. So I won't bore you with any of those details. You heard the presentation, and you're sitting there thinking, what's not to like in that presentation, you know? But then I got to thinking, you know, Poncha rejected Love's, and they need tax money too. BV has a Love's, but it's clear up on the north side, outside the residential area up there in that area. And when they built the latest one in Canyon City, it's way the heck out there in the middle of nowhere. So there must be something there that we were missing in that. And heck, our county commissioners even wouldn't let a hockey rink in a residential area. So there you go. So I just want you to consider some things in case people say, what were you thinking when you thought that wasn't a good idea? They talked about no access on Highway 50 and said it was really hard to get into Shell Station. Seriously. And he talked about local farmers pulling trailers with their diesel trucks. Well, that would be me pulling my mule trailer. I can get into Shell a lot easier than I can get in turning on 105 and making all those turns because I travel that road. My daughter bought some property over there, and I pulled my trailer over there. I know what that's like. And then they talked about, well, the trucks really wouldn't stop there in bad weather. What are they gonna do, tow those trucks away if they stop in there? You know, it just, and the other piece, folks, is it's completely outside our, I think that was 2019 agreement that was put together, and the people approved that and so forth, completely outside that. So the only other thing that I would say with 11 deviations on that thing, I got to thinking I could put in a 4-story apartment complex on my property on Wood Avenue if I got those same variations. Think of the Christmas display I could put up there. That would be 4 stories high. You know, it would be amazing. Only I'd have to convince you that there wouldn't be any problem with traffic on a one-way street. There wouldn't be a problem with parking. There wouldn't be any problem with my neighbors trying to look over a 4-story building. You know the routine, but I really appreciate your listening to that presentation and considering the concerns I think a lot of people in this community have. That's just not a good place for a Lowe's. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Jim. And next up, we have Brandon Wolf.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Wolf. For security purposes, I list my address as 104 Crestone Avenue. I'm going to speak about the Lowe's, Loves rather, not the Lowe's issue. In addition to the
That's going to
concerns.
start a rumor.
Yes, right? It's a mega complex all of a sudden. No, in addition to the traffic comments that have been mentioned, I also think it's worth considering that there's significant potential for trash going into not only the Arkansas, but into the South Ark from wind blown or just being carried by vehicles. I think we also have to keep in mind that there's a high potential as we have these sort of vehicular traffic movements for invasive plant species that are generally carried along with vehicles as well. From where I moved here from, thistle is a primary concern. And just from my friends who have visited me from those counties which are laden with thistle, I've seen it on my street trees here in the city, which I've been on top of, but it's still a concern that we really need to think about. I realize that we do need tax revenue. I do realize that Salida wants to encourage and promote business. And I'm not wholly against the idea of this, nor even the positioning. That's for you to decide, and there are many people who voice their opinions on that. I do think there are tangential concerns. And those are what I want to make sure that we're aware of. Obviously, we have dark sky standards here. Our night skies are beautiful. We have the Cleora development going up right now. We have all the trails and bike systems over on the Burmack side of the highway. I think part of the serenity and the beauty that we have to offer people is in those bike trails and in that natural environment, not only on the river. And so I want to make sure that while we talk about all the other things, the logistics of the traffic, the impact on the immediate neighbors, that we also think about the area not immediately adjacent to this potential development. And that's just what I wanted to bring up for you. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Do we have anyone online for citizen comment? Okay, then I am going to move on. We do have a proclamation this evening, and that is declaring October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Whereas October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, a time to recognize the contributions of individuals with disabilities to our workforce and to promote inclusive employment practices. And whereas people with disabilities bring diverse talents, perspectives, and skills that enrich our workplaces and communities, and whereas fostering an inclusive environment is essential for innovation, creativity, and economic growth, and helps to eliminate barriers that hinder employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities, and whereas we honor the efforts of our organizations, advocates, and individuals dedicated to promoting disability inclusion and accessibility in the workplace, and whereas we encourage all employers to consider the value of a diverse workforce and to implement inclusive hiring practices that provide opportunities for individuals with disabilities, and whereas the City of Salida recognizes the importance of inclusive employment and to celebrate the contributions of individuals with disabilities in our communities and workplaces. Let us work together to create an equitable society where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. Now, therefore, the City of Salida does hereby proclaim the month of October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Thank you. And that will bring us to unfinished business and ordinance 2025-17, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, repealing and replacing in its entirety Chapter 16 of the Salida Municipal Code entitled Land Use and Development Code and adopting a restated Chapter 16. This is a second reading and a public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to city staff to summarize their report.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. Really appreciate time to go over this with you. I have with me Matt Goebel, who is with Clarion and Goebel Associates, Goebel Partners, who has been helping us all along the way of writing this new land use code. I do not want to put you through the pain of having to experience the presentation that we did last time. As you all know, we did approximately an hour-long presentation of the land use code at the first reading. But I do want to quickly just thumb through the presentation to show everybody what we have covered with you and to highlight a few specific areas before opening up for questions. So Christy, if you could go ahead and just kind of flash through. Obviously, this has been going on for a while. We're here at the end now. I want to say thanks to the project team that's been involved with this all along the way. We talked about all the reasons that we're here and the old document that we currently have and the need to update it and modernize it for today's standards. Next. The recommendations that came out of the initial assessment from Clarion. Go ahead. I do want to take a little bit of time and just rehash a little bit of the public engagement. We've had a lot of meetings, public and with our Land Use Advisory Committee that was put together. We have had numerous surveys that have been out there over the years, getting different pieces of information from the community to compile this all together. Obviously with a few breaks here and there between COVID and capacity issues and everything else. But there has been a ton, and it's been advertised in the papers, that we've had flyers out, social media, you name the source, it's been there. Next slide. This is just one of the meetings that was a part of it, the future land use mapping process that happened about halfway through the process, maybe a third of the way through the process. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Next slide. More meetings, more meetings, surveys. We've had a website up for the entirety of this process where people could access the information, the latest installments of the code, each of the consolidated drafts, information about the meetings, et cetera. So I just want to highlight that this has been out there that entire time. Go ahead. Lots of new organization to the overall document, makes it a lot more clear and easy to read, more legible. Go ahead. All the different new sections consolidated to try to make it a little simpler for folks to digest as they dive into this to understand land use here in Salida. Next. This was just a quick summary of the tweaks that were made to the code since it was recommended as approval with Planning Commission. Go on. And then the new zoning districts, we'll get into that a little bit. Go ahead, you can kind of just slowly click through it. These show those new zoning districts, consolidation of the overlay districts within the existing code to the new code. Some of the new restrictions on height and density, our dimensional standards table, which has been revamped to make it more user-friendly and to go dive into the individual zone districts. Go ahead. Keep going. Lots of changes, including to the standards for ADUs, new uses, right? The old code is about 15 years old, so there's been a lot of new uses and new interest in addressing those in the code. The use regulations, We talked a lot about development and design standards specific to wetland and river protection along the Arkansas River and the South Ark River. We went into a lot of detail, go ahead, as far as what folks have in the community have identified that they want to see and what they do not want to see, go ahead. And how those setbacks and riparian buffers will be measured the various variances from that and exceptions to that. Go ahead. And keep going. So this is the buffer area. Some additional development and design standards have been updated, including parks and open space dedication and development standards. Keep going. All the changes to the administrative procedures, a lot of the ultimate decisions are being pulled out of the hands of City Council and putting more into the hands of Planning Commission, unless it has to do with ordinances, to help make sure that those who focus on the land use codes are the ones that are making those decisions ultimately, with few exceptions. There's some great keys in there to help people understand the process that they need to go through when they come in with a certain development proposal. Updates to plan developments in general and minimum size and trying to simplify the process. The allowance for minor modifications and no real changes to variances though, but this allows for administrative variances, if you will. Annexations does put a little bit of an emphasis on water rights to ensure that Salida will continue to have the rights down the line for future development to be able to service the community. Some updates to inclusionary housing, including some allowances for a little bit of extra height if they have large amounts of affordable units as a part of that. And setting an effective date of December 22nd of this year to allow staff to put together all the relevant documents, materials that we need to do once this officially gets approved, so that we're ready to go, hit the ground running once it's effective and people start coming in the door asking for development approvals. With that, we can jump into Q&A, or if you would rather, because the zoning map is such a big part of the land use code, we could go ahead and cover that now, or if you'd rather focus on the code itself, we can certainly move through this particular piece and then jump into the presentation for the zoning map once we get to that particular item.
I almost think we should wait because so many people here tonight have signed up to speak after that. And there are a few people that signed to speak on this in public comments. So I'd like to keep it clean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with that, I can take any questions that you might have.
Who has questions for Bill?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I don't specifically have a question at this point, but I do want to say, since the last time you presented, you covered everything that was possible, question, change, or anything else, correct? For the last time you presented 2 weeks ago.
Any questions that came from council?
Yeah, anything that was changed.
Yeah.
Since then, there were no changes.
The only changes that we have made have all been grammatical or spelling errors. Yeah, that's it. It was just
Okay.
really along those lines.
That's what I thought. I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
We've seen this once or 50 times.
Yeah, I just was making sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets confusing there.
It's a perfect document now.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for
Said
doing
with
that.
total humility. Okay, so there is no applicant because the city is the applicant.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, sorry. Bill, I do have a question. You mentioned, or it was mentioned earlier, about the 185 nights of occupation required. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah. Basically, the idea of there already being a number of caps, regulations, limitations on the short-term rentals in the residential areas. It was discussed at one point that with Planning Commission, with the Land Use Advisory Committee, that the 185 days, especially now that short-term rentals is a major contributor to the Affordable Housing Fund, that is a disincentive to retain that particular regulation. And the vast majority of short-term rental owners actually do not rent out their homes more than 185 days as it is, regardless of the zone. So it seemed a little bit obsolete and unnecessary, frankly, especially if they're going to be using it for that anyways, and we want to continue bringing in funds to help fund affordability.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, then that will take us to public comment. Do you mind bringing the, thanks. Thank you very much. Okay, so first up, Doug Peltier.
And while you're coming up, Doug, we don't require that you say your address, but we do appreciate when you say your name and tell us if you live in the city, out of the state, or on Mars. Just let us know.
That's only people up here
No, we want them to tell us.
on Mars.
Yeah, if they do.
Okay, Doug Peltier, live in Riverside Edition in Salida. First of all, I want to thank our outgoing mayor and any of the council members who are going to be completing your tenure this year. I want to thank you for your service and dedication to our city. And that said, I also want to like to say that due to the complexity and extreme measures of some of the articles in the land use code, that I encourage all of you to take a real in-depth look at it. And if necessary, you might consider even tabling it for the new council to take up, because they'll be dealing with the aftermath of it anyway. And tonight, in addition to what I've previously said, I want to emphasize Article 16-160, which is the nonconformance portion. And even though Bill has said that buildings can be erected in the riparian setback and the buffer zone areas, I want to point out that this can only happen if the lot is too small to provide a 2,000 square foot envelope without encroaching into these areas. Any structure outside the 2,000 square foot envelope makes them non-conforming, and a variance would be required for any more improvements. Well, a lot of the Riverside Edition homes would become non-conforming just as soon as this is adopted and put into effect. And so that would make it impossible, for me to expand my property like my family's expanding, so we can all get together and gather and enjoy the place. So that's a big concern to me. And then in closing, I want to, emphasize that this takes away the free use of my property, a lot of my property. And to me, it comes straight out of Marxism. Richard Wormbach Brand, who was imprisoned in communist Romania for his Scrutinous Witness, wrote a book, Karl Marx and the Satanic Roots of Communism. And I want to declare here tonight that Satan has no authority or dominion over Salida, and that evil and wickedness will not prevail. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Greg Bain next. I'll pass them out for you. You go ahead and speak. Thanks.
All right. I'd like to talk about the elephant in the room now that we're adopting a new land use code. We're not enforcing the old one. Imagine most people have heard of the hospitals, offers some pretty good jobs to people, and have looked around and not been able to find a place affordable that they could live, and so they had to turn down the job. So, workforce housing is a real issue in Salida, and so I'd like to propose that we create this vehicular residential pilot program. In other words, tiny homes. You'd put them in the same place you might put an ADU, and connect to the same water, sewer, septic that the ADU would be. But again, the bottom line is turnkey, how much can you produce an affordable housing unit for to how much you can rent it for. And an ADU is about 400,000 or more. My neighbor's building one right now, and they're right there at that number. It's 600 square feet. And so, but a tiny home on wheels, a throw they call them, THOW, you could, turnkey for under 100,000. And if we could start with a pilot program and see how that works with maybe 24 units in the city and see how it works. And then if it works well and we can iron any bugs out of it, maybe the county could adopt it. We could seriously produce, maybe 500 tiny homes in the county in the next 5 years, which would make a big impact on all the RVs that we see popped out and plugged in all over this town. And so, and none of them, nobody knows how many of them there are. They're not inspected, licensed. Just today, a woman that comes to walk her dog along the trail by my place, I'm sorry, I'm Greg Bain and I live at 440 Grand Avenue. Anyway, speaking of the trail that comes by my place, I was just talking to her about this. I was gonna present to council tonight. She said, oh yeah, my roommate's son lived in an RV in our backyard for a while. She said, our electric bill got up to $1,000 a month. So it's not really even affordable. Whereas a tiny home, they're built for long-term living. They're well insulated, especially if they're home builds, if the owner is also the person that might be living in it. And so, it'd be a lot more reasonable to create a safe, comfortable, affordable, place to live than what we have going on right now. So that's it. So please consider that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Mike Segoski.
Good evening, and my name's Mike Segaski, and I do live in Salida, but I do have property in the county that abuts the city limits on the river. So the topic I want to talk to is about some setback limits on the river, on the Arkansas River. And my overall concern is just with the government becoming more and more controlling on personal property rights, okay? So it happened to me with my property that's in the county, and the county taking away some property rights there. So I have 60 acres, and with that, I could build one house on it. So that was a huge change. So on the setback limit on the Arkansas River, it says 30 feet in the beginning of that zone. So if my property on the other side of the river, abutting city, if it ever became, and I'm looking at it in the future, if it ever became incorporated in the city, this would be a major concern because I have several hundred yards of river property. So, and if you go to that property, within that 30 feet, you'll find, somebody may call it riparian and stuff. It does have some cottonwoods up down by the river and stuff. It has some alder and some willows and that type of thing. But it also has, within that 30 feet, it has pinyon, it has yucca, it has cactus, it has four-winged saltbush. It has kind of a desert environment, with the river. And so it's very abrupt as far as where you go from a riparian area to a desert environment, a really dry 11 inches of precip a year. So what I would ask the city council to look at is being not so restrictive on those and looking at those properties more as an individual basis. I understand the concern as far as the beauty of the river, as far as building high-rise or 3 stories right up against the river, but you could still build within, especially on my property, within 20 feet of the river and blend it in. There's tons. What's removing most of the vegetation is the beaver. They, cutting down trees. And so just being more flexible on that. And, I don't know if that's, usually it's a variance type thing, but, I could protect that property, the ecosystem in there, all the critters that use that, still have a beautiful scenic river corridor through there, and still have a building that's within 20 feet, 30 feet. So please look at that flexibility. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, Ramona Kimmett.
My dad owns a property at 207 North D Street. It's the property that's right adjacent to the Scout Hut. And the zoning that's gonna go in right now is the MN zoning that's not allowing, I mean, it's still got the setbacks and all of the things that are happening. And my dad has done previous trades with the city for the Riverwalk, which I consider already a riparian setback. So you guys already took a good chunk off the back. And now you guys are gonna take 40 feet more with the MN zoning instead of the MD. And we had 50 to 60 people every day out front of our house watching the Scout Wave. And you guys are giving up a huge opportunity on sales tax if there isn't the potential for a commercial building to go in there that's fully commercial, that can go all the way up to the edge of the river. And he sold all of the lots next door to him, and they were able to build right up to the edge of the river. And he retained that singular lot so that in the future, my sister and I would be able to do something there. And now we're looking at the potential of having MN zoning with a pretty tiny envelope to do it in. And you already took the back side of the property with the Riverwalk. I mean, I think you guys should at least consider that the properties along the Riverwalk have already had a setback done. And that the setback further on us is chopping us up a second time. And then on the front end, obviously the setback from the street makes that envelope even smaller. And the amount of people that have been outside of that property next to the Scout Wave is huge. So having that property right next to the park and having every other lot being able to do what they want, it's arbitrary on our singular lot that is getting changed. It's arbitrary, it's discriminatory against our lot, and it's not the historical reliance that we have from the trades that we did back in the 90s to trade the Riverwalk with you guys for more square footage up on the top. We didn't trade the square footage for more yard space. We definitely traded that square footage so that eventually we would have the opportunity to do something at the top there. And it should be done. I mean, our property, we've enjoyed it with our family and it's been great, but it should be enjoyed publicly by a bunch of people. And they should be able to see that Scout Wave, and you guys should be able to get some return on investment out of the Scout Wave that you guys built, and it was expensive. There's more people standing there watching the wave than there is people watching the park further up, the other wave that's next to the boathouse. So that property is completely unique, and it needs to be reconsidered right next to the park. And historically, the MD.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Amy Barton.
Hello, good evening. My name's Amy Barton, and I live within the Salida city limits. And I just wanted to speak a couple minutes on the zoning height for all the different zoning classifications. And I think there should be different zoning heights for different zones. What I've seen in other cities is that when you allow, well, I guess stepping back, in the focus has really shifted in the last 10, 20 years to high density. And while we need additional housing in town, we're losing the character, I think, of our small town feel. And in other communities, I've seen where developers have come in and they tear down single-family residences and they build a monstrosity, 35 feet or even higher if it's allowed. And that really changes the feel and character of the neighborhood for why people are moving here to begin with. So that's just my concern, is just how, no matter what neighborhood zone your home is classified in, that it seems like there's sky's the limit now, and as far as allowing higher and higher buildings in each neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Kimmett.
I want to address this council on, I want to address you on this. This is what I got from these guys here. And these councilors, they come here and now all of a sudden they want to change the land use code. What's wrong with plain and simple? We've got our land use code. Works fine. Been working for years. What are we hiring these guys for? I don't get it. I can't even read this thing and haven't been able to read it from the get-go with a magnifying glass. But this is what I was handed on this whole deal here. And then suddenly getting this, you gotta set back 40 feet because that's what we wanna do. And now they've upgraded already the use over here to, I think it's MN, but I do think the only thing that'll serve right over there is an MD. And with just what my daughter just said here, there's this whole thing, Sackett Street from F2 here, this is all gonna get commercialized no matter what you guys do. There were 1,000 people down there for that last concert catching buses at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, if that's not commercial or zoning, what is it? I mean, this went on till 10:30 on that last one, and then there's been more and more things happening in the park, more and more, concerts and so on. So that whole corridor there from it, if you look at the map that is on the big one that you can see, you can see that it just looks silly that the first and second 100 blocks of North D aren't fully commercial with the downtown area, along with the first, second, and third eastern blocks of Sackett Street. And they should also be commercial and commercially zoned in development with this right here. It just, why is that area blocked off? What, to get 40 feet off the river that isn't there anyway? Because none of the houses that are there are in compliance. None of the homes that are built in the 1800s in this area are in compliance with what MN is requiring here. Just doesn't make any sense to me. I think plain and simple with our old codes was good enough.
Thanks. John Wood?
Thank you. My name is John Wood. I live in the city of Salida. I also own the last unbuilt lot on East Sackett, not too far from here on the riverside, just a few properties downstream from the Kimmett property. And let me start with the Kimmett property because I totally agree with that family. It is a really unique piece of property that needs major land excavation and land use work done on it. Currently, the bank is literally a dump. I can speak from personal, and not your house, but I can speak from personal experience, having done work on that bank. It was used as a landfill back in the 1940s, 1930s. And it presents, if they do some work on it, to tear that bank down, it presents a unique opportunity for the city. You know, you have the cantina, you have the high side. That work can be extended downstream onto the Kimmett property and bring some of the downtown folks also downstream watching the Scout Wave. So I think you need to sit down and think about an MD zoning for that particular property. The second thing I want to say, as a riverfront owner with a small undeveloped lot, to echo earlier comments that the 40-foot, riparian setback has unintended consequences. And I think your land use code is great. I think that particular section should be taken out and looked at more carefully with a great deal more input. There is some flexibility built into it, but that flexibility ends 30 feet from high water mark. With architectural treatment, I mean, I agree with your slides. The stuff that has gone in along the river is awful. It is, 3-story vertical. Try stepping the architecture back, and I agree with the statement, you could build 20 feet from the river, and it would be extremely attractive. So I hope you look at that and listen carefully to the Kimmets.
Thanks, John. That's all I have for this. Do we have anyone online?
We do. Monique Cotting.
Monique, can you hear us?
You need to unmute, Monique.
Got it, thank you.
You could go ahead.
Okay, my name's Monique and I'm representing the Baymont by Wyndham here in town. It's a hotel. So we would just like to, see the code change, like somebody had explained earlier, that employee housing is, a serious issue. And like the owners, I spoke to them and they would be, appreciative if we were given the option to put something on our property to help our employees with housing, whether it be tiny homes or, permanent campers that are put in because, employees don't have housing. And we can't run our business if our employees can't stay in town, and it's a rough travel if they're driving an hour, 2 hours away. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Very good. Does staff have any rebuttal to anything that was said in public comment?
No rebuttal. Happy to take questions. On the last comment, though, I will note that the new land use code would actually allow for tiny homes to be built as an accessory use to a commercial use such as a hotel. And long-term RV is allowed, although it is one per lot, and through the appropriate public process.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. Does anyone on council have questions of anyone that spoke this evening?
I do.
Go ahead.
Would there be, so on the gentleman that spoke before, I can't remember what his name was, is there any flexibility, maybe John or the gentleman before, any flexibility or, I wrote down some words here, flexibility to that riparian zone or, exemptions, or do you look at it a case by case in those where the gentleman was already on there, or if it's a riparian zone? Do you look at each case by case and then allow some flexibility at all in there?
Yeah, there is some flexibility built in, specifically. So again, within the setback area, that initial 40 feet from, if we're just talking about the Arkansas River, you are allowed, the trail down to the water that can take up 200 square feet. You're allowed patio space, fire pit space, et cetera, that can take up an additional 200 square feet. But if the setbacks themselves are so deep into the lot and take up so much of the lot that you are left with anything less than 2,000 square feet of developable area, that's footprint, then we can look at the setback kind of on a case-by-case basis to reduce that setback at first in the front of the lot, so along the streets, and then you can look at it in the back of the lot down to 30 feet. So from 40 feet down to 30 feet to get to that minimum of 2,000 square feet of developable area. So I'll stop there. I mean, that's the first bit of flexibility that's built in there.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for it in here and I just
Yeah,
couldn't find that. But
That's 16.420
that's why I couldn't find it.
B6. Yep. Page 76 in my version anyways.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Hey,
we
Bill,
can- no,
building
we're
on that
done with
last
it. I'm sorry.
question.
Public comments finished, but we can have a conversation offline afterwards.
I think Dominique was just saying something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Building on that last question, then how does the easement, for that particular property, where the easement was created for the Riverwalk Trail, how does that factor into the setback for that property?
The trail doesn't have an impact on the setback, because you're still measuring from the ordinary high water line and would be measuring along the slope that first 40 feet. So the trail doesn't really have an impact on it, as far as the measurement goes. Does that answer your question?
Does the trail, I mean, the high water line is above the trail in some places. How does having donated that or given the easement for the trail factor into, does it cause the setback to go further onto the property?
Hard to know. I mean, I didn't actually see the development of it, so I don't know where the ordinary high water was before the trail was built, but you are correct. In a lot of areas along the Arkansas River, the ordinary high water does go up and over the sidewalk. And we would determine what the ordinary high water is via a survey. So a surveyor would be the one who specifically would say where that spot, where that measurement begins. So hard to say, not knowing where that high water was before the construction of the trail.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anyone else?
We're on questions right now, right?
Yeah, questions, yeah. Yeah, we'll go into discussion after I close the hearing. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead, if there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and close the hearing, and that will bring us to preliminary council discussion.
I am thinking back to our last regular meeting that we had, where we did hear out the constituents who raised their concerns about the zoning of their property. And we changed just those ones, because it was, it like matched what was the surrounding area. I'm curious what thoughts are about doing that. I think it's 207 East Sackett is the one, for the Kimmets. I'm sorry. 207 D Street. Okay, thank you for that. Curious to hear input on that.
And I think it makes sense. The argument of those properties along the Riverwalk being kind of considered that downtown feel. I mean, that type of zoning makes sense if you're along.
Wouldn't this be for the, this discussion to be during the zoning map?
You are correct. I am sorry.
Unless you're talking about the riparian, but if you're just talking about those particular.
Specifically zoning.
That's all right.
I would like to discuss that during the next ordinance discussion then.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll bring it back up.
Yeah, we'll bring it back up.
That will happen shortly.
Right.
Did I miss something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Other discussion points?
You mentioned bringing up the riparian would be appropriate.
That's in the land use code, yes, but I think Councilmember Martin was talking about a zoning, yeah.
Just check. I mean, any thoughts on, as it comes to flexibility on potential variances as they come up? I know not every lot is the same, and especially, Doug's particular lot, I guess the unintended consequence of like the difference in those shapes, amount of square footage that can happen.
Don't we have a Board of Adjustment process?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so there is a variance process, and setbacks are one of those items that can be varied through that official public process. So that would be a public hearing, duly noticed, and the public would be able to weigh in on something along those lines.
Okay, yeah, as long as there's like a mechanism there, I think that, feel good about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry, and so yet another layer that's built into the code are minor modifications, which would allow, I believe, is it 10%? Yeah, so in certain cases, and you kind of need to meet the thresholds one at a time. You know, first we would look at that 2,000 square feet of developable area. If that could not be met because the setbacks were just too great, then we could look at a minor modification as the next step, which is 10% of that setback. In this case, that'd be an additional 4 feet, for instance, or maybe 3 feet in that particular case if it's down to 30 already, with the potential of setbacks either in the front or sides of the property. And then the next step, if that didn't do it, would be to bring it to an official variance in front of the Board of Adjustments.
Thank you for spelling that out.
Yeah.
During our discussions of the land use code advisory committee that Councilmember Curtelli and I both were sitting on, we did have discussions about wanting to have even more of a setback for these riparian areas. And that's because there's data that Councilmember Nacarado has provided to me several months ago, but there's data that shows that 50 to 100 feet is what most Colorado municipalities recommend for these kinds of setbacks. So I do feel pretty strongly that we have negotiated that already. In order for our rivers to remain strong and our banks to remain strong, we do need our native plants to be there, and they need to have that space to grow. So I understand and do hear their frustrations about having a setback that is now increased from what it was before. And I very strongly want to see Salida's future continue on past our generation here. And I think that protecting our land in ways that we can and is kind of something that I'm in support of. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm going to agree with Councilmember Martin, because if we don't protect the river, which the citizens have asked us to do, except for the handful of people who have land on the river, the rest of the citizens want the river protected. And it's something that we have to do, because we are here for the greater good and for what provides the most good for the most people. So I'm sure it is frustrating if you take the lens that your property has lost value, but all investments are risky, including real estate. They go up in value, they go down in value, rules change, and that's just where we are.
Anyone else? If there's nothing else, I would call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2025-17, repealing and replacing in its entirety Chapter 16 of the Salida Municipal Code entitled Land Use and Development Code, and adopting a restated Chapter 16.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Curtelli, and the motion is to approve ordinance 2025-17, repealing and replacing in its entirety Chapter 16 of the Salida Municipal Code entitled Land Use and Development Code, and adopting a restated Chapter 16. Further discussion?
Nacarado?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Critelli?
Yes.
Pappenfort?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Fontana?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And that brings us to ordinance 2025-18, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, adopting a comprehensive rezone of the official zoning map of the City of Salida and adopting an updated zoning map. This is the second reading and public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it back over to you, Bill, for your report.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm going to take a little bit more time, just kind of go through this because I know there's been a lot of questions about the zoning recently. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So the zoning map goes hand in hand with the land use code, especially when you have new zone districts, new overlays, new information that applies to the map. So we need to have a new zoning map that refers back to the language of the land use code itself. We have constructed this process and this map through a process that was largely based off of the future land use mapping process that we went through a few years ago. That was approximately a year-long process that we did in the midst of the overall land use code process of updating the land use code. And some of the highlights of the zoning map, big picture, a lot of these changes reflect the current uses and character that is out there on the ground here in the city of Salida. And we had a zoning map that was fairly outdated, or we do currently have a zoning map that's fairly outdated in the sense of what's actually out on the ground and what the vision is for the community in the long run, as we found out through the future land use mapping process. So a few differences included the differentiation between Highway 50 zoning and that zoning along Oak Street and First Street. Very different natures to the roadways, to the types of businesses that line those various roads, and to the overall intent. We have some new and renamed zone districts, which we looked at, in the land use code itself. The creation of the mixed-use neighborhood area, which is meant to be both commercial and residential as a transition area around some of the higher intensity uses and zone districts to separate it a little bit from those lower intensity residential uses. Next slide. Another big change is that R3 areas have gotten spread around different areas of town, so that's not all concentrated in just one particular location. And along with that, many of the individually owned former R4 zoned lots have been rezoned to R3 to allow greater flexibility for the actual uses on those individually owned lots. MC, which stands for Mixed Use Center, these are target areas, are nodes that were created through the future land use mapping process. But everybody needs to remember that the stretch of Highway 50 from Oak Street all the way out to Walmart, the edge of city limits, is 3 miles long. It's a long corridor, and these MC mixed-use nodes, are areas to sort of break up the monotony of the mixed-use highway zone district along the way. At this point, there's only one property that is zoned as mixed-use center, but there are several others along key intersections that are eligible for the mixed-use center designation. And then lastly, heavy industrial uses have been, and zoning has been moved out from the center of downtown. So traditionally, going back to the roots of Salida, our industrial zones were right in the heart of downtown, very close to the railway, and that continues into our current zoning map. So technically, you could have incredibly intense industrial uses approved by right next to downtown. And so we moved those that zoning out of that area and have made them eligible for rezoning in other portions more on the outskirts of town. But at the same time, lighter industrial uses are still allowed with various processes out on Highway 50, as well as in the mixed-use neighborhood zone, such as that along First Street or Oak Street. Next slide. As I mentioned, we more or less took the zoning map straight from the future land use map, certainly with some differences. It's not a one-to-one change, but the adopted future land use map is that on the left. The zoning map, the most current zoning map that's in front of you today is the one on the right. Next slide. We did have a pretty robust process around this, including the future land use mapping process. Then we utilized the Conveo Experience Builder on our website, got that QR code out there. We introduced it at several public meetings. But this was just one of the tools we used that you could go on to our website. You could use that slider tool that's there in the middle to see what the current zoning is versus what the proposed zoning was, and then make comments on individual lots or in general if you wanted to. And we got a fair number of those comments back. Next slide. So this was the actual zoning map that we ended up with. This particular one incorporates the changes that you all had directed from the first reading. I will note that there was one other change, and that was to the golf course property there, which had initially shown R2. It shows R1, which is what the current zoning is on that property. Next slide. Just to give you a little bit more detail of what we're looking at, the red is the mixed-use highway that is out there on Highway 50. The pink is that mixed-use neighborhood, that MN zone district, which acts as a transition between the highway and the core residential neighborhoods to the north. There's also shown in orange the R3 areas, blue is civic buildings and facilities, purple being planned developments. Next slide. In contrast, you see the change from the current zoning map to the proposed zoning map. The First Street, Oak Street corridor is now shown all in pink in a mixed-use neighborhood, which again, does allow for commercial uses or residential uses, but it is not as vehicularly oriented as the uses out on Highway 50. Next slide. This just highlights those changes of the few individual lots that you all directed last time to change from MN to MD that was contiguous with the rest of the mixed-use downtown core, but still retaining some level of the MN there. So, and back to the zoning map, and at this, I've got, fire away with questions.
Who wants to begin here? Go ahead.
Public hearing, right?
Well, no, it is a public hearing, but before the public hearing, we can ask questions, and then, yep. So questions for Bill?
I guess, Bill, could you speak to the golf course property a bit? I just think there's, like, before people come up with their comments, just, yeah.
Yeah, so golf course is currently zoned R1, single-family residential. That's the current designation. We had gone through a variety of permutations of the potential zoning of that property based off of the future land use map. Some earlier versions of the FLUM had shown it in various colors. There had been a version that showed it in darker yellow, R2, basically. There was a version that had shown it in all green. And when we brought it to Planning Commission, we discussed that property. We noted the fact that there had been conversations around the golf course property and the fact that there are approximately 11 acres of undeveloped land around the perimeter of the golf course. So the future land use map, if you want to go to, you can go too forward, actually, I think from there. One more. So the future land use map that was adopted does show a distinction between the developed portions of the golf course property, shown in green, with the idea that it would be designated for parks and open space in the future, and the perimeter area of undeveloped land that's shown in yellow for residential use. This came directly out of some conversations with this council a number of years ago about potentially setting aside those 11 acres for a potential use down the line. There's absolutely no plans whatsoever to change the golf course, and there are no plans whatsoever for any development on those 11 acres. However, it was recommended by Planning Commission to break up that property into the two separate designations. And in order to zone that differently, it would need to be subdivided, because you cannot split zone a single parcel. So the idea was that down the line, it left the door open for potential subdivision of the golf course and those undeveloped areas for different uses. But I'll just reiterate, as we've put out in the press releases and everything else, there are absolutely no desire or plans to get rid of the golf course, to change the golf course. It's about the flexibility of those additional 11 acres.
And I mean, like the steam plant, like the aquatic center, I mean, it's a cornerstone of this community and represents a lot of history, a lot of legacy. And I've been up here on council for 8 years and never has a discussion about doing anything with that property other than what's currently being done. So I just want to make sure people know that. Go ahead.
I have a few questions about that. So if the Planning Commission asked for this, so it is, the green area is what is being played at this point.
Correct.
As a golf course. The yellow around it is what is still being played. Because I've played there, and a lot of people play in that yellow. So.
You got quite a slice, huh?
I do. So how can the Planning Commission decide to take that and say that just because it is not green or being used as a golf course on the map, and say that this needs to be divided, and this 11 acres is not a golf course, because it is a golf course? So that's one of my questions. The other one is how, as it was originally given to the city of Salida, this piece of property, the entire thing, including the 11 acres that is not watered at this point, was originally given to the city of Salida to say, this must be used as a golf course. How can the city then take that and say, this may be used later on, 11 acres, as something else?
To answer your first question, my slice is not quite so bad, so I've never been out there by Poncha Boulevard on it. However, I think the notion was that the golf course could continue to operate without at least some of the area that's shown in the yellow being dedicated for the golf course. Beyond that, I'm not sure that I can provide you much more of an answer than Planning Commission had looked at it, looked at the amount of undeveloped property, and had provided a recommendation to designate them separately.
So maybe that's a question for our lawyer. Is that, can that just be taken by the plan, not taken, but can the Planning Commission just say, you're not watering this, even though we're still playing it, we're not watering this, can this be used for something else besides a golf course at this point?
It's those two different questions with the zoning and also the ownership of it. But I think the biggest issue is that part of it is a golf course and part of it is not. Yeah, the Planning Commission is an advisory board, to answer your question. It's up to you as to how you zone a property. But this particular property has been zoned R1 from the beginning. The legal documents we're still looking into as to what they apply to, and if they apply to, when the city has owned it. What Bill is referring to is the right to, you want to keep your options open as to the right to what you do with city assets. So once it's designated, right now that's just vacant property, I believe, but once it's designated a park, it's harder to do different things with the city-owned assets due to the state statute.
Okay.
So, but this is just a zoning discussion. I think the city's been clear that that area has been, what's in green has been what has been used for the golf, as a golf course for 100 years, I believe.
Right, so if that's 100 years old, and that is city property, how can we, if it is given to us as a golf course, it must remain a golf course. I'm leading to the questions of parks and open space. But in saying that, why would we zone it R1 if it can never be used as anything except for a golf course, and lead it to zoning parks and open space? Or why would it, I just don't understand how we can take that property and say that it can be used for anything else except for a golf course. Even that part that's not being watered, because that's playable area. I don't know.
I'll start off with the unpopular response to this, because this is what we have to do for our job, is that we have to look and see what is on the books and the information that's recorded. And so we have been told that there was that agreement 100 years ago. We've been told by folks from the golf club, there was an agreement between the golf club and the city that it was given to the city with that stipulation. There was an affidavit from I believe the 1980s that was signed by members of the golf club that said that's what they remember to the best of their abilities.
Just to clarify that, yeah, it said as long as the property is held by the city of Salida, it shall be a golf course. So that's what the document said, but it said it was the recollection of the board at the time of the 80s as to what they had been told from the prior, but I just want to reiterate that this property is a golf course, and if ever it were to be taken from city to do something else, that's a whole different discussion, so I kind of don't want to stray from that. But the legal documents, I just want to clarify, we've only started to look at them, but the document that I looked at said it's the recollection of the golf board members in the 80s that people told them generations before that as long as the property was owned by the city, it shall remain a golf course.
And to be clear, that affidavit was just from folks associated with the golf club.
And I mean, at the end of the day, we all sitting up here want this to remain a golf course. And we've never had a conversation to the contrary.
Right.
But for that to remain a golf course, it should possibly be zoned parks and open space. Because future councils could change this. As we sit up here, we vote different things than the previous councils and the previous councils. So the only way for this to remain owned by the citizens of Salida is to make this parks and open space. If this is parks and open space, it has to go to a
Kind of
vote.
a picnic on like hole 4 because it's open to the public? What are you talking about?
Yes, parks and open space, if this were to change at all, it would have to go to a vote of the people. If it's in parks and open space. If it's zoned R1, it may not. It could be voted on by sitting councils. Parks and open space has to go to a vote of the people.
But so it's been R1 all along, and it's been a golf course all along, right?
It has been R1. It has always been zoned R1.
Katie, at public comment, please come up and speak.
So I can assure you that zoning maps going back to the mid 20th century do show it as R1. There was in 2013 a zoning map that applied a green label over the golf course. Where exactly that came from is anyone's best guess, but it seems to have come from some direction in the comp plan that eventually the golf course could go to a parks designation. That has remained on the zoning map, even though we've never officially named it a park, and we do not and have never had a parks zone district. That is an error on our current zoning map. It should show as R1, as it did back in 2012 and every time before that. We do not have a parks district. So it's impossible to zone a lot as parks when you do not have a parks zoning district.
Is that parks, open space, and recreation?
Future land use map,
Future
so
land
that's
use
not
map.
zoning.
Yeah, this is the future land use map, this is not the zoning map. So this is the guidance document that leads us to where we want to get to with the zoning map. And the green on this does say parks, open space, and recreation. And the yellow does say variable residential neighborhoods. These are this is an adopted policy document that is an appendix to the comprehensive plan.
So last question on this.
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if I might be able to squeeze a question in here.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
What was that?
Dominique was asking.
Hold on, we have one more question, then we'll go to you, Dominique, go ahead.
Is there a way to zone this the same as what Alpine Park is zoned? Or our amphitheater park, whatever that park is called. Riverside Park, to make this that same zoning as that, to where if it ever changed, it would have to go to a vote of the people?
Yes, that is something that can be done with the new zoning map, so that would become effective when the zoning map is effective.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Nacarado?
I'm wondering, this might be a question for Nina, but does the lease that the city enters into with the golf course, the private entity that manages the golf course, does the lease protect the golf course as such without, should that be where, you know, this decision-making lies rather than the rezoning? As that lease has done, as it's been zoned R1 for, what did we say, 100 years?
Yeah, I said 100 years.
There is a lease currently, and there's going to be a renegotiation of the lease that will extend the use of the green on the screen as golf course property. Does that answer your question?
Does the lease protect it as golf course? Could the city subdivide the golf course and turn it into housing when it has a lease with the golf course management entity?
Not as to the property that it's leased with for the duration of the lease. Does that answer the question?
Yes, and what was the length of the previous lease?
20 years? It was 20 years, and it expires in 2027. And the city's in the process of renegotiating it now. Or city staff.
Okay.
It'll be in front of you when it's all done. And I don't know how the term, I'll have to have Christy Dean tell me what the term that we're looking at renegotiating. But the current.
Yeah, this is Christy.
It's 20
We're
again? Oh,
still
25.
looking at that, but could potentially be looking at, a 10-year lease or something longer, depending on the appetite of the council at the time.
And the current lease is 25 years, I'm being told, yeah.
It might be, I know April 2027 is when the current lease expires, but we're actively working on it right now, so that there's no lag in the current operations and management of the space and facility.
But through the lease, we'd be able to provide the golf course with the safeguards that they needed.
For the duration of the lease, yeah.
Right, or the new lease, we could, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That being like the true governing document for this. Like that
Which
supersedes.
I would very much like to see.
That supersedes what we're even talking about now.
Yeah.
Is that correct? I guess I had just a quick question, Suzanne, and maybe even Chief that I see over there, representing the.
Who's hiding behind the screen?
Who I see representing the Greater Salida Recreation Corporation Board. I feel like, obviously, I would defer to, and want to know that one or the other are actually like on the same page as far as that goes, because last time I think we talked about the golf course, if I'm correct, Councilmember Fontana was talking about the idea of pursuing private-public partnership at the golf course. I want to make sure that we're not considering anything that could preclude that, if that is still the intention. But I really, again, I mean, this is why we have council representation on this board, and Chief as well, to just like tell us what is our opinion, like what is the best course of action, no pun intended.
Chief, do you want to take this one? Do you want?
Come on.
Come on, chief, come on up.
Is that right? Should I wait till public comment? Since I'm acting as a golf course board
Yeah,
representative.
you know what?
I
Are
think
you, are you signed up in public?
I am,
comment?
I'm
I get,
second.
okay, well
Okay.
then just
Yeah,
keep
that
that in
makes
mind
sense.
then for later.
Okay.
And then
so
you could always
I'll-
question anybody who speaks further, you know.
Okay.
That's an
Not
option.
only is he a stellar police chief, he's a resident parliamentarian.
Right, that's right.
So I think I can answer some of that if you're asking myself also.
Yeah.
So it is only as good as long as the lease is signed, in effect. So if that's only 10 years, we might have to revisit this in 10 years. And then it's only, as Nina said to Councilwoman Nacarato's comments, it's only for the green up there, that what she asked is not for the yellow, is what our lawyer has answered.
Because I believe that was the question asked, because I think what we're trying to do is the current lease is not, the legal description is not the most descriptive, so there's been surveyors out there to.
It needs to be the entire area, because that is still playable, even though it's not watered. It is still playable golf course area, even though it's not watered. So that lease needs to be for that entire area, and in 10 years, this could come up again. I'm hopefully not sitting right
Or we
here.
could negotiate a longer lease.
Correct, we could do that.
I have a question about, if it's zoned as parks and open space, this golf course, would that have an impact on how the golf course is currently being run? My understanding of parks and open space means that it is an open park, which, yeah, like you have a picnic at a park, anyone can go and just hang out at a park. I feel as though golf courses function very differently. You can't just go out and have a picnic there. So if
Full
it were to
contact
be
picnic.
zoned as parks and open space, would that have an impact on how the golf course is running as a business?
I mean, I'm not sure that I've got a super clear answer to that, generally speaking, and I think we can maybe call up, Christy, would you call up that other presentation and go to the future land use map description for parks and open space and recreation? It's the other presentation there. Not that one, the other just in case presentation there.
Okay.
Just in case we happen to talk about the golf course.
Okay.
Oh, you planned ahead? Good.
Never.
Give me 2 seconds.
I'm only bringing it up because it provides a little bit of guidance as far as the anticipated uses and intent of that. So if you scroll down to the bottom, I think it might be
Yeah.
one.
I'm just making sure that,
Oh, sorry, before the photos. Yep, right there. So this was the document, the categories document that was adopted with the future land use map. And it actually only recently remembered that it specifically spoke to the nature of parks, open space and recreation and the golf course itself. Can you zoom in just a little bit so we can read? The intended characteristics of parks, open space and recreation included parks, natural open spaces, public golf courses, trails, and other facilities. Parks may include paths, picnic areas, recreation centers, and other structures that facilitate recreation. There's siting considerations for where it could be. And then at the bottom, it talks about location. And I'll just read the last 2 sentences here. It says, the current golf course is on public land, but has been leased out and privately run for about 100 years. The site was originally platted as a neighborhood and has R1 residential zoning in place. The city plans to explore the possibility of creating workforce housing on portions of the site in the future, while likely retaining a public or private golf course there. The residential designation shown at the edges of the site reflect this potential. So it talks about golf courses as a potential use. It talks about the intentions of of the uses out there within that designation. And then once you get into the land use code, that particular zone district provides even more information and definition around it.
I want to provide a little bit of context because I think it was back in maybe 2019. We were looking at potential sites for workforce housing, and we did an inventory of city-owned land. We looked at this, but we said, no way.
Yep.
We said, no way. And we actually ended up picking a really small parcel right below the courthouse and the jail. So I just worry, when you say the city plans to explore the possibility, we said no to that a bunch of years ago. Now, I can't tell you that 20 years from now, because a future council might look at it differently, but then again, a council 20 years ago would have looked at things a lot differently than the way we're looking at them today. But we were like, no, it's not gonna work at this time. So I just wanted to make sure people knew that.
Yep. I would second that.
So in that comment there, it looks like it can be leased to a golf course okay, so it says the current golf course is on public land and the description is in the parks. So that can be put into parks, answering Councilwoman Martin's question. So
Correct.
that doesn't create problems putting that into a park.
No, it does not.
It does not create problems. Okay.
And then, is that sentence anywhere else? The city has plans to explore the possibility of workforce housing, blah, blah, blah. Is that in the LUC?
No, it is not in the land use
Good,
code.
I was gonna say take it out, so it's
Right.
not there.
No, this is an adopted document from 2023.
I thought so.
That's why I wanted to bring light to it, but it specifically talks in the land use code. I was just gonna pull up the definition. The purpose, Parks and Open Space District is intended to accommodate and preserve adequate lands for recreational use, open space, or landscape preservation. The district allows for the protection of public and quasi-public lands, along with compatible incidental and accessory uses from being used for purposes other than parks or open space. The district may also be used for lands designated undeveloped or reserve in the future land use map prior to conducting additional planning or establishing detailed development plans. So, yes, this use, other recreational uses can be on parks land. However, the parks zoning district does preclude other non-recreational uses from happening, which was the point of the future land use mapping process in regards to the golf course there.
I would love to hear from the public.
Okay, me too.
Anyone have any objections to that? They have been here and been waiting patiently. Could you bring up the
Yep.
Thanks. Okay, and first up, Bill Bormas. Did he leave?
He probably went home for dinner.
Okay.
He did leave a letter for,
Oh, okay, he provided us a letter, okay. Then, Russ Johnstone? Sorry.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Russ Johnson, Salida. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Greater Salida Recreation Board, who manages and operates the Salida Golf Club. The Salida Golf Club has been in existence since 1926, and next year will be our 100th anniversary. We are averaging over 15,000 rounds of golf played every year at our golf course. We hold various community events, fundraisers, competitive leagues, and tournaments. We have people who come from all over the country to play our course because of the course conditions, weather, and mountain scenery. Golf is very popular worldwide. It's estimated that 68 million people play golf regularly and 106 million people attend Topgolf and regular golf courses. Golf is played in 146 countries, and it's a sport that can be played from 5 to 6 all the way into your 90s. We have 90-year-olds on our golf course currently. Golf is a very hard game to play. I would argue that it's the hardest sport to play. Only 2% of the golfers in the entire world can break a score of 80. Because of how challenging the game is, golfers have a very hard time controlling where they hit their golf ball, like Councilman
Like me.
spoke earlier. As you know, the Salida Golf Club property is all on one parcel of land. There are very confusing zoning maps that have come out in the past years that have led to all the confusion. We've had park maps, R1 maps, and the R2 that jumped up a couple of weeks ago that created all the commotion. We have heard comments that the land that is not irrigated and green is not part of the golf course. It absolutely is part of the golf course, and that's just not a true statement. We utilize all of the land along hole 1, most of the land along hole 4, and all of the land along hole 5. These areas are where a lot of balls hit. The majority of golfers hit balls in those areas, and landing in those areas is a penalty and part of our game. It adds to the challenge, making the game what it is. Golf worldwide is up 15% since COVID in 2020. It's an outdoor activity, and people have taken to that. The Salida Golf Club property was deeded to the city by the original owners. Since then, the property has always been managed by a board. In 1999, the city decided that the golf course board should not be associated with the city, and that's when the GRC was born in 1999. Since then, the Greater Salida Recreation Corporation has operated and managed the golf course at little or no cost to the city of Salida. There's an affidavit that was brought up earlier that states that it is to remain a golf course as long as the city owns the land. Whether that will hold up in court is yet to be determined, and I don't think there's any reason to go that route. The golf course is an asset to the community. It's a place where animals roam. Everyone in the community is welcome. The daily hustle and bustle is forgotten, and politics are left at the door. We are there to be outside, hang out with friends, and enjoy the game of golf. We would like to see the golf course remain a golf course for as long as possible. The current lease states that with any portion of the land inside the fence, that is land that is owned by the city, but operated by the Greater Salida Recreation Corporation. That is any land inside the fenced area. Going back a year ago, we lost.
I hate to do this to you because you could arrest me, but but I got to be fair to everybody.
Ran out of time.
Yeah.
All right, they'll
Thanks.
finish it.
Thanks. Thank you. Katie, this is going to be a tough act to follow, but Katie Grether.
Katie Grether, I live in Salida. Thanks for letting us all make comments about this very important document. I'm not going to say everything I was going to say because you guys have been saying it. I will agree, though, that the unwatered part is what we call the rough, and we're all in it half the time, so it's very important, and it is part of the golf course. And we've all been out there. We've had balls in our backyard because we're across the alley. Anyway, I think really my request is that it be zoned and as parks, because that is the category that's going to protect it into the future when all of us here aren't going to be here. And it will have to go to a vote of the citizens if, anybody wants to use it for anything other than a park or golf course. And I really think that's where the responsibility lies, is with our citizens. And we should all have the last word together. So that's definitely my request. I do think, the maps I've looked at from 1999, 2013, and then the recent ones, except for the very last one, this one we're looking at, it was green and it said park. So, and I'm glad we clarified that that's an appropriate category for it. So I hope that you all take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Amy Barton.
My name's Amy Barton, and I live in the city limits. Can I give my 3 minutes to Russ so he can finish? Is that allowed?
Just finish what he wrote. He wrote it down.
No. So can he take my time?
Yeah.
Is that legal?
I'm going to allow it. But I have a question to ask.
So okay.
One quick question to ask, because I know you're talking a lot about the rough. Has Kendra ever hit a ball into the rough?
All the time, but she's still got a par somehow.
Okay.
The only other things that I had to finish were, we would like to have this zoned a park. R1 is what it currently is. Either way, if it's a park or R1, the lease is the most important thing for the golf community. We'd like the longest lease we can possibly get to keep this a golf course. We're here for everybody that's a golfer in Salida, out of the Salida area, BV people that come down to play, and we disagree with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Thanks. Denise Wentz.
I'm Denise Wentz, and I live in Salida. So the golf course will be 100 years old next year. My hat, okay. So are you aware that Colorado Springs has 2 public golf courses, the Patty Jewett and the Valley High? They both operate as a separate enterprise of the city of Colorado Springs. Each are self-supporting, with all revenues derived solely from user fees. The golf courses receive no sales tax or property tax support from the city, just like Salida Golf Course. However, the Patty Jewett and Valley High golf courses are zoned as parks, not residential. We don't understand why the city does not zone the golf course as a park. Unless the city has plans, and I guess the city's saying they don't have plans, but we're getting conflicting stuff because I know Carolyn Posset told me in person that the plan for the city was to put a trail or connectivity along the western edge of the golf course. And I questioned her on that because there was a trail marked on one of the maps. So I'm getting all this conflicting things. So they're saying they're not gonna do that. So anyway, let me kind of go through. The scenario of rerouting a road through the golf course, taking away the rough, or just replacing it with residential is detrimental to our citizens. And this would negatively affect many Salida residents who cherish and enjoy our beautiful golf course. These drastic decisions should not be made by a handful of city people. The Salida residents deserve the right to vote on any changes to the golf course property. It's the democratic way. Zone the golf course as a park and renew their lease for another 100 years. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have a somewhat partisan crowd in here. I would ask, I know you all love these comments and I've let it go, but let's refrain from the clapping. I know everybody's supportive, just for a little bit of decorum. So Sean Romero next. And sorry, Sean, I know, hopefully they'll listen to me and you won't get clapped at, but I don't want you to take it personally.
We'll see.
Okay.
Mayor Shore, City Council, and staff and community, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My first appearance providing public comment. My name is Sean Romero. I reside in Salida. When I work for the nonprofit Chafee Housing Trust, sometimes I feel like I'm working on Mars. I am here representing the Chafee Housing Trust and the Chafee Housing Authority to comment on the new land use map in the city-owned property that has long been leased for use as a golf course. Historically, this property has been identified more by its recreational use than its R1 zoning district. CHT and CHA would like to reiterate their support for the future land use map, the FLUM, and the comp plan, which identifies a portion of this property on the fringes of the current golf course as a variable residential designation. This residential designation in yellow is a critical city-owned asset and should remain as flexible as possible to allow for potential future affordable housing. The CHT and the CHA support equitable access to parks, open space, or recreation across the city. The golf course is well-used and valuable asset to the community, and we have no objections to its continued use as long as there's an entity willing to manage the lease, which I believe we do. What we do want to express is our support for the city retaining ownership of the parcel as a publicly owned asset that, if ever needed, could be master planned with flexibility and density for inclusion of affordable housing. And yes, a public park too. This may be long into Salida's future. We want to reiterate that the allowable density in the R1 zoning designation precludes affordable housing. The variable residential designation would be more supportive of affordable housing in a rezoning or a PUD application. We understand nothing is currently changing. We only request that the city council continue to understand the value of city ownership of land in higher densities to achieve affordable housing, and ask the city to maintain flexibility to adapt to future community needs. Oh, and we would also like to thank you for including Prop 123 expedited review in this version. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Bruce Long? Is he still here?
Like, I'm trying to take a nap here, please.
It has been a long meeting.
My name is Bruce Long, and I'd just like to reiterate what Susie Fontana said. I agree with all that, and I disagree with almost everything that the previous speaker said.
All right. And then Gus Argus? What? Bruce Long?
Hello, my name's Gus Argus. I live at 502 West First Street in Salida. I was born and raised in Salida. My grandkids are fifth generation Salida. So I'm very aware of this area and what an asset, what a popular area it is to be. And we have so many amenities here, but I want to stress how much the golf course really is. It is an asset to this community. There's about 325 active members right now. It employs about 20 people between the bar and grill and the pro shop and the maintenance crew. It's heavily utilized. I'll go out there and I'll see golfers all year long that are not members, that come into the community for whatever reason and they play golf. Youth, I was part of one time coaching both the girls and the boys' high school golf teams. I still teach kids how to golf, and you see a lot of young kids out there using the golf course. So it is really used a lot. And, you know, it's as important to this community to me as the swimming pool, as the river, and Riverside Park is just another amenity. I would hate to see residential building on the golf course. It would totally change the golf course, and it would lose the character of the golf course. Now, I don't know if you're familiar, but on the west side of the course, I think it's Cochetope, there's houses right on the perimeter, and I know several of the people that live there. One in particular I golf with all the time, and he says he gets about a dozen golf balls in his yard every week. He's had windshields broken, windows broken, so yes, that unwatered and unmanicured part of the golf course, it is the rough and it is utilized. I would hate to see the golf course changed and have residences there. Parks and open space sounds very viable, but you would have to restrict access to it to golfers. You can't have people walking their kids and dogs on the golf course for the same reason the houses get hit. If you got people out on the golf course unsupervised, they're not golfers, that's a heck of a liability, definitely is. I would also like to see the lease that comes up next year definitely expanded past the 10-year limit. And it,
Thanks, Gus.
Again, is very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, Creed Phillips.
Hi, I'm Creed Phillips. I'm a Salida High School senior and Salida Boys golf member. I've been golfing on the course since I was about 4 years old, so it's a very, very important course to me. I'm Gus Argus's grandson, and I would just like to emphasize the fact that if parks were put in that area over there, I would personally not, as a parent, bring my children out there, because if a child was hit by a ball, or if a dog was hit by a ball, or a person having a picnic, it's like setting up a blanket in front of a Topgolf area. I would also like to emphasize that the course is a very congested area as is. We are a 9-hole course as compared to an 18-hole course. So taking away that small area on the edge, which I'm in there pretty frequently, would also.
Like a humble golfer.
Well, by no means great. It would take away some more of that area. And, you know, being a 9-hole course, I have never heard a member complain about it being congested. We're happy with the area that we have now. Taking away that slice of land would further shrink the size in it. I have both family playing with me out there and family that I've gained through the boys golf team, and speaking here for them today, it's been a conversation between the guys and I, and taking away that area, especially for the group that I golf with, would be horrible, adding strokes, and more importantly, it would take away the opportunity to become better at the game of golf. So that area over there, I want to emphasize that it is used very frequently, as Ms. Montana had said. Fontana, I'm very sorry. Taking that area, even proposing a net to, if there's housing put right there, would also take away the skill aspect of that area. If I were to hit into a net and it bounces into the fairway, there's less skill involved. This year, as a matter of fact, today, we have one member from our boys golf team at state, and I truly don't think he would be able to do it if we had netting around there. With the area, we have netting on hole 2, lining there, that neighborhood. And I just think that that area needs to remain untouched because we already are doing with what we have now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then next up, Donna Rhodes. And I know that it was really hard not to clap for him. I could see, and I just appreciate the decorum, but it was a great presentation. Yeah. Oh, can you come to the speaker just real quick? Sorry.
Hi, I'm Donna Rhodes. I live in the county, but we have property in the city.
And what were you requesting?
The new one, yeah.
Okay.
When I first saw the whole land use code, it was kind of daunting, and I've been working with Bill with a lot of questions back and forth, and he's been very helpful, so I understand most of it. But I do have a couple comments that I'd like to suggest, and one would be that well, the first time I saw this map, it was like, well, where's the green? Where'd all the green go? There's no green. And that's basically the golf course. So I would support totally that it become parks and open space. And I would also suggest that Centennial, which is down here with the Salida Hot Springs Pool, be zoned that as well. And my argument would be very similar in that the WPA gave Salida citizens that pool as a gift, just as the golf course was a gift, and I think it should remain the People's Park, Centennial Park. So both of those would be zoned. The other suggestion I have in looking at this map, the Monarch Spur is in green, and I'm happy about that, which means it's considered a linear park, which is exactly the reason it was built. That property runs from what's now the boat put in downtown 2 miles out into the field. We're talking about the Monarch Spur Trail. But that trail should actually go all the way out. Oh, thank you very much. All the way out to here. The city bought that property when the UP abandoned it way back in the late 80s. So that should be a city property all the way out to here. And then I would suggest that, like it was on the Flume, that easement that goes down south of the end of the trail, going into the Starbucks subdivision, remain on there as well, as does, which is a trail easement to the city. What also is also on that map, if you want to move it over just a little bit, the Two Rivers trail is shown in green. There we go.
Yeah.
So you see that over there. So that's been kind of designated as a park as well. So I'm suggesting that this park, open space, parks and open space, be parks, open space, and trails as a designation. Add trails in. And I know that opens, like, what trails will we put on? And it wouldn't be to promote trails or trail making, but it would be for the people and the planners that are developing properties would know where connections should be made or could be made. That's where I'm coming from here. So the Monarch Spur, the Two Rivers, the park behind Marvin Park, the River Trail, I would think that should be considered part of it. The Whitewater Park River Trail downtown.
Thanks, Donna.
Am I done?
You are
Yep,
done.
you're zero.
Anyway,
But you got a lot in there. Is it Gabriel Pettis? Did I get that right? Yeah, okay.
My name's Gabriel Pettis. I live in the city of Salida, and I'd like to comment on the golf course property. I think I agree with most everything that's been said here tonight, but one thing I haven't heard is I live right by the golf course, and yes, those 11 acres are definitely played. But they're also used by pedestrians, bikers, people who can't necessarily get outside of town to get that exposure to nature. And I think that by building on those perimeter properties, you would be effectively cutting the golf course off from the trail along Crestone, the trail along Poncha Boulevard, and the unofficial trail, the alley that runs between Uray and the golf course, which gets a tremendous amount of use. The track teams, people running, people biking, and I think that by developing those areas, you would be effectively separating the use of the golf course from citizens who are not necessarily golfers. So I implore you to set the zoning to that to be parks, as we've heard often tonight. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And then is it Myronberg?
Hello, I'm Myron Berg. I also live in the city of Salida. I agree with what I've heard earlier related to the golf course. I do want to add one comment I haven't heard, and that is that while it is a city-owned property, if it's zoned R1, it has a different valuation potentially than as a parks and open space. One of the things I think many of us want to preserve is that the golf course stay parks and open space for the foreseeable future, for future generations. I think if we switch it to parks and open space, not only because of the fact of the zoning, but because of the valuation, it becomes less attractive to be sold or used for other purposes. So I just wanted to add that comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's see, Lydia Siegel.
Hi, I'm Lydia Siegel. I'm a citizen of Salida, and I'm not a golfer. Just want to make that very clear. I have no personal motivation on that. But I want to say that I agree with everything that's been said in keeping all of this, including the rough, on both sides, designated as a park, so that, as Gabe just said, it also serves at the perimeter folks who are not golfers. And to quote Diesel, who's the head of parks, right? He said you should have big parks, you should have as many parks as you can have, you should have green space that keeps the character of green space within the city. I've heard him say it more than once. And to quote Councilwoman Dominique, she has also talked about the importance of having the ability for animals to be able to pass through, and by the even the possibility of putting homes in the rough, am I using the right term, rough? In the rough or the yellow area, then it's gonna limit the passage, especially of our beloved deer or any other critters that are coming through. So those are the only minor things I wanted to add. Thank you for
Thank you. And if you sat up here long enough and that term beloved deer isn't held by everyone that comes up and speaks before. But I'm digressing, I apologize. And then Michael Lucetta.
Try not to reiterate so much what's going on. I'm very pleased that so many people are supportive of the idea. Very pleased with comments by Councilman Fontana. the idea would be to keep the golf course as an open space park area. That's what I would reiterate with everything that's been said. I know that each of you received a letter, or was sent a letter, from Jen Phelan, who's a former city planner here, has property here, and that it's very articulate as to how and why we should be able to keep this as a park and designate as park open space. There is the danger of having it continue as R1 as the recommendations from you heard from earlier from the city, to keep it open for development. I'm very much opposed to that, much like most of the people that have spoken here this evening. It does need to be designated as a park is what I would request, as so many of the other people. I don't want to reiterate so much of what they said, but I would encourage you to review the letter that was sent to you by Ms. Phelan, because it is so articulate and provides details on why and how that can be done. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you, appreciate it. Do we have anyone online?
We don't.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone taking the time to be here and to comment. And with that, does staff have anything, no response to that? Okay. Does council have any questions of any party or person who offered comment at the hearing? Okay, nothing here, okay. Then I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing, and that'll take us to preliminary council discussion. Who'd like to begin?
I will.
Go for it.
Well, I just wanted to, just to rewind, as far as going back to the initial question I had asked before, very long ago about.
Was that tonight?
Yeah, that was tonight, about discussing that, part of the River Walk portion as far as being zoned MD as opposed to MN in those areas where it is along the River Walk.
Okay, that's right.
And, what council thought of that.
I brought that up. Yeah.
Oh, like that and that.
I mean, we've done it, we did it before for those other residents that were asking for their property to be in the commercial zone, and that was mainly because of their potential use in the future for them.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing, I know the Kimmets were here during that last discussion, they're here again tonight. They really are advocating for themselves in this, doing it in a tactful way as well. I think it would be worth having that property at 207 D Street zoned as the MN. MD is the request.
Just the one property?
Because I think all the properties to the right of it are down to the river, if I'm right, correct, right?
They're what started the problem, yeah.
They're already kind of there.
And I'm good with that, allowing them to have that. And I think that the folks who have given land to the River Walk, that's where it should begin. It should not begin above what they've already given to the city.
I agree with that.
So,
I mean, it's less protection for the river, I get that. Maybe it could expire when they do, and we could have bigger areas to protect the city. But nevertheless, that's a double ask, and I don't like that.
so I'm clear, is the request then to rezone everything from Riverside Park all the way to the Tower Building as MD? Because all of those properties do have the River Walk below them.
Well, I think they should all have the opportunity to get credit for giving the city the land for the river walk.
I'm not sure some of those other properties did give
No.
credit. I know the Kimmets did because they've been there that long, but I could be wrong.
And it might have already existed, but whenever they took ownership of the property, and then that would not apply. For anybody who owned it prior,
Because a lot of those were built very recently, in
Recently.
the last few years.
yeah.
I don't know the
I don't think we know enough about any of the other properties other than the 207.
Yeah.
I don't
want
think
to change the
so.
zoning for
Yeah,
anything except 207.
Right,
Yeah, sure.
Only 207.
I agree.
What happens when, so we do move them back to the zoning that they want, that gets rid of the whole setback for the,
Yeah, there are no setbacks for MD, so they could build it right up to the road, right up to the property boundary of the neighboring properties. They would have the additional height credits that are built in for the mixed use downtown, and all the different uses that come with that particular zone district.
And I believe they already have some height credits because of the trade that happened. I think that's what was mentioned last time, but I don't know. I guess that'll come when and if there is a development or a PD for that.
I've not heard of that, but.
But that's residential, right?
What's that?
It's residential?
What, the current zoning?
Mixed use downtown.
Current, the pink,
The pink, no, it's mixed-use neighborhood, which is commercial and residential. So you could have commercial use on it. What is proposed is that you would only have a 10-foot front yard setback, 5-yard side yard setback, and then in the rear, because the rear is right to the river, it's the riparian setback, the 40 feet.
okay.
MD gets rid of all those setbacks, so it is a 0-line setback on
Mixed
all the
use?
perimeters. It could still be mixed use, yeah. They could have residential above if they wanted, commercial below, or it could all be commercial.
It just gives them more flexibility.
It's certainly much more developable, yeah.
Okay.
So one more thing on that, what you're asking for, just for this family at 207. If they don't develop this and they sell it, then what happens?
The zoning stays with
The
it.
zoning stays with the property, and the next owner could turn it into
Do that.
whatever would be allowed under
Okay.
that zoning.
Okay, it just stays with the property. Okay,
And everything on the other side, it's the Scout Hut and then Riverside Park, so you can see where it
Doesn't apply.
doesn't apply.
right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so are we good with that?
I'm
I'm good with it, yeah, I mean,
Somebody's gonna write that down.
I feel like, yeah, they should be able to
Does
do
Councilmember Nacarado?
Awesome.
that
Do
property.
you have her hand up?
I think if we're good with that, I think the golfers in the room would like us to return to the conversation of the golf course.
Yeah, just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yes, so another comment about that. I can see, as you have asked, what does the Salida Greater Recreation Board want with this? And they are here. So I know Chief has represented them as well as I have. And it's just not, I would not consider myself a golfer, but I show up and I play sometimes. So, but that's for the city of Salida. This map needs to be green from what I can see. And a way to make this green is that land right there and that entire land. And then if it does turn green and we do make this parks, there is a way for everybody out there for this to change back to R1. And that is to go to a vote of the citizens of Salida, not for the council to decide. So that's what, I mean, there is a way to change it.
And that's the mechanism, if say, in 20 years from now, the citizens are like,
We hate golfing now.
or whatever it was.
Whatever they said.
Look at the audience out there. Do not say
They're not
hate and
gonna say
golf in
that.
the same sentence. So the citizens would be able to do that? I'm just,
It could only happen for the entire parcel until it was subdivided. So if that were the case, the citizenry would need to vote the entire parcel a new zoning to be able to convey it. Otherwise, it would need to be subdivided in order to create different zones around there. But it
So
would be
I just want to clarify, so everyone's talking about the state statute, which exists, that if, for local government to sell or dispose of, there's a lot into this, but real property used or held for park purposes must be, it must happen after an election. So this is this would be a very permanent decision that you would be, right, versus, allowing, not hamstringing future generations what the use of the property
But you
is.
said permanent. If it could go back to the voters in 20 years, that wouldn't be permanent.
So,
it go
Mayor, if you
to
could just
the
ask
voters?
the public to, if we could have a discussion without the public speaking. So, yeah, to go to the voters versus, the elected representatives, no, it's best for.
I mean, I personally would rather the voters decide on something like this.
I was
This
just
is
pointing out the state
Councilmember
statute that everyone's referring
Nacarado. Shouldn't it go to a vote of the people to change it now? It's already zoned R1, so in order to change it to parks and open space, I mean, I heard that from several constituents. I'm hearing that now, that it's the most important thing is that the people get to decide. So wouldn't it have to go to a vote of the people, you know, using
So
that
just
logic,
to
it would
dis-
have to go to a vote of the people now to change it to parks and open space from R1, it's been zoned R1. Am I misunderstanding something?
To dispose of property, so to get rid of property, hypothetically, to dispose of property, to relinquish, to sell property. If you're a statutory city, not home rule, and you don't have a charter that speaks otherwise, you either, can get rid of public assets by, in an election or by ordinance. You have to do it in an election if it's held by, for park purposes. So the zoning designation isn't necessarily, the end all and be all, but obviously it's a good indicator, right? So, we're just talking about the zoning, discussion, but there's also the implications of how you relinquish, if you were ever to relinquish, or you ever need to relinquish public assets. Would you have to do that by an election or an ordinance? If something is held as for park purposes, I'm looking directly at the statute, it needs to go to the voters to be disposed of. Does that answer your question, Councilmember?
Yes, thank you. I think it's great for the audience to understand that as well. I'm a little bit just worried and confused about why we would change something that has been working so well for so long. For 100 years, right? It's zoned R1. There's a lease with the Salida Greater Recreation Area managing the golf course, and it's been working for 100 years. Why don't we let the lease be the governing document rather than risk what might come from changing it to parks and open space, which also risks making the golf course be in jeopardy? So I don't even understand why we're thinking about changing it at all. It's been working for 100 years.
I'll talk.
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything before we take it? Okay, go ahead.
I'm still thinking.
The reason that it's come up is that now it's in the future land use map. I understand that it was in there before, but now if you look at that map that was up there previously with those two areas along the 11 acres, the one on hole 1 and the piece of, land on hole, what is it, 4 and 5. If you look at that map and those two pieces of property, even the CHA and the CHT said they want to keep those two pieces because that part we're not assuming that's in the lease at this point. So we need to keep this entire area as a playable parks, city-owned piece of land. It's an asset to the entire community. So that's the reason. I mean, that's part of the reason. And the Salida Greater Recreation Board would also like to have this be secured, this entire piece of property, as parks in their lease as it was intended to do when it was given to the city of Salida. It was given to the city of Salida as an entire piece of land. And that entire piece of land needs to remain whole, not 11 acres taken off.
So it sounds like there were probably like 40 or 50 councils that preceded us that kicked this can all the way down the road to us. Thank you very little.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, thank you.
I guess it's also good to I was also on council when we were scouring properties for a housing trust project, and that's how we landed on 3rd and M. So there was another one off of Oak Street that, the tiny little yellow one, right, you know, where Walnut hits as well. I mean, we already went down all the pros and cons of each of those parcels and got this feedback immediately that, you know, already this discussion that we're hearing now is echoed in that initial discussion. I mean, certainly there was pushback from all properties, but none as loudly as those ones that are featured right there. Also, there were other cons, I believe, listed, just awkward parcel shapes, just the complete, you know, it just how to finagle access over what is now a beautifully constructed sidewalk and bench and, you know, a Poncha Boulevard upgrade. So we've kind of already been down this road with that. I mean, and, you know, again, I mean, already having listed all those pros and cons just outside of the fact of just the game of golf in general, you know, that's why we decided to do Third and M, you know, initially. So it's, you know, it's not any kind of conversation I want to, you know, have again either. So.
Who else?
So with the Housing Trust and Housing Authority coming in and speaking to that land there, I am a beneficiary of the Housing Trust program and I know how important it is. And I also think about if I purchased my house on a golf course, I don't know, I don't think it's a fair practice to the workforce to put them onto a golf course. There's a lot that could happen with the golf balls. We heard from somebody who lives right next to it now with the golf balls getting into, you know, breaking windows and windshields and, you know, there's pets and animals and children and I don't know. I don't think it's a fair practice to put those lower income folks just right on the golf course just because that's a place to put them. I think too that we heard tonight that area actually kind of like it is part of the golf course. We've heard multiple times that that's what they, you know, the rough, I guess is what it's called. And I believe Chief Johnson mentioned that the lease states that any land inside the fenced area is leased to the golf course. And so does that include those yellow around the rough? Yeah, I mean, I think I assumed that there wasn't much going on in that yellow area. The 11 acres that we're discussing that in the future could be workforce housing. Where we are hearing a lot tonight that it actually really is used as part of the golf course.
It's pretty prime land there.
Yeah.
Can I interject really quick? I want to make sure everybody knows that there is no proposal for workforce housing on these acres. And I'm sorry to do this to Sean Romero, but he doesn't speak for the CHA. This has never been discussed by the CHA board. There's never been an okay or an empowerment for Sean Romero to speak on behalf of the CHA. There's no proposal for workforce housing. There's no proposal to put low-income earners along the sides of the golf course. So we're having a discussion about something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I feel like this is all kind of come
In
up
case that can
from
shorten
kind
things
of
up a little bit.
misinformation is what it's all kind of, it's people have come here to speak their opinions about it, but everything that they've heard out there that they're basing their their opinions on tonight is all kind of misinformation. It's stuff that's not true, not happening. They got some information that, and then they kind of ran with it. And now we're here having this lengthy conversation about a golf course that I believe should stay a golf course forever, and one way or the other, is it's a park or it stays R1. Seems to be working as it is, kind of how Ms. Nacarado said. Moving it to a parks would be, a way of just protecting it as well. I believe both ways we can continue to go forward, because just like she just said, there is no plans to develop any of these properties out of, from this council anywhere, and this staff that I know of. So I think we're just we're running around in circles here.
Yeah,
Let's get something going.
And I just want to say that regardless of where the information came from, I really appreciate the civil tone that everybody here tonight brought forward, so thank you for that. If there aren't any more questions, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and take us to preliminary council discussion.
Really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking at the lot that's currently high side. Are they aware that they're getting an MN zoning?
Can we pull that one up?
The 330, I mean, like the one right next to the
The
steam
zoning
plant.
map, please.
Right, well, the clearer one.
The zoning map, not the future land use map. Too many maps.
I know.
Oh, gosh, that's a different.
So currently, could you
future.
zoom in on that?
So this is.
So it's currently zone C1. That's the red. It's not C2. It's not part of the downtown district. It's currently zone C1. The new zoning map, could you bring that one up?
Is this it?
No.
No.
You probably have to go to the other presentation, sorry. There you go. If you zoom in on that,
No, that's steam plant, yeah, right there.
it is shown, yeah, it's shown as MN.
And they're aware
The
of that?
parallel of C1 and MN is pretty much the exact same.
Okay.
So it doesn't change, it doesn't become any less intensive, it doesn't become any more intensive.
Just checking. as we're-
Because Highside, if they had a concern, they could have been.
Yeah,
for
right,
one of the
well,
many,
I-
many-
And that was
I
the
think
same,
they
just
change ownership as well.
Yeah, and that was the point with the other one on D Street that we were talking about, 207. That is also C1 currently, and
Okay.
MN is pretty much the equivalent of
I
that.
just saw it and I figured I wanted to bring it up before.
You just. Okay.
My bad, sorry, guys.
Speaking of other properties that aren't the golf course, just some things that I heard tonight about Centennial Park, the zoning of that one. Could you speak to that, Bill?
Yeah, so we have a couple different zone districts for.
I will be right
Public
back. Go
properties.
ahead,
You go.
We have community facilities is a zoning district for a range of properties that are not parks specifically, or include other facilities within the park. So the schools, for instance, are community facilities. Chaffey County courts as a community facilities. In this case, we chose community facilities for the pool because of the nature of the primary focus of that property, which is all one property, is the pool itself. It's a facility. So
Okay.
if you want, I can read the difference between community facilities and parks. The allowable uses are pretty much the exact same, though, between the two. And it's acknowledged to be public property. Just in this case, they're actually built facilities with a fair amount of value to it.
Okay, and then for the Monarch Spur Trail, so we did purchase past that part,
You
that
know,
point?
that is a point of
Let's
question
move all
that
the
I
way up
think
there
we need to get some
and-
verification of,
Okay.
because on our maps, it actually shows as a right-of-way
Okay,
and not a unique parcel. I have been told that there may be.
Sorry, some people can't hear. Can we limit the conversations or go outside? Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm not sure that it's a unique parcel, and you can't zone it if it's not a unique parcel on there. So we want to get some clarification of that. If it's a right-of-way, we'll need to figure out what we can do with it specifically.
Okay.
Bill, can I interject really quick? The other thing too is that section of the Monarch Spur Trail is not within the city limits, so we cannot zone something that's not within the city.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which,
We tried.
Oh, you mean west
the
of
city
the
limit.
map?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. And on top of that, Donna brought up the Milk Run Trail.
That, yeah.
That is also, as we understand, an easement, and you can't zone an easement separate from the parcel. If it is indeed a separate parcel, we need to find that information, but we don't have it currently.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying all of that.
Okay. So my question is, there's a way to say, when we make a motion, to say we will take property 207 to MD.
Like an amendment.
Uh-huh. And then the golf course parcel to open space parks and OS parks and open space. That's what I'm asking.
Those need to be two
I
separate
would
ones.
appreciate those being separate
Yeah,
amendments.
they need to be separate.
Okay, just
And-
wasn't sure how
And
that works.
then I'm ready to make a motion.
So
Go
I
ahead.
need to close the public hearing first.
Oh, yeah, I was just asking how.
Okay, all
You
right.
tried.
We're good with questions, and I'm going to hereby close the public hearing, and that'll take us to preliminary council discussion. Go for it.
What are we discussing?
Mr. Mayor, I move
Yeah, I think we're in
to
discussion.
approve ordinance
I would like to-
2025-18, approving
trying
a
to present.
comprehensive rezone
I can't.
of the official zoning map of the city of Salida and adopting an updated zoning map.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Nacarado, seconded by Councilmember Papenfort. The motion is to approve ordinance 2025-18, approving a comprehensive rezone of the official zoning map of the city of Salida and adopting an updated zoning map. Further discussion?
I think there's some amendments to come.
What
And
happens when I leave the room for a minute?
And so I propose an amendment on the 207 Sackett property.
70.
North D, 207
Oh,
North D
North D.
technically. yeah.
207 North D, okay,
I did the same thing, so.
okay.
There's a remnant right-of-way immediately to their west. That's why
It's the address, that's all that matters.
D.
That's bizarre. Okay, to whatever coding, whatever zoning
Mixed-
they is.
MD,
MD,
mixed-use
to MD.
downtown.
From MN to
From
ND.
MN to MD.
Okay.
Thank you. We limped through that one.
Am I doing a
Did I get a second?
To
Oh,
that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have,
And then I make one now.
what's that? No, hold
What
on.
did we discuss? One
No,
at a
I
time?
Yeah,
think
one
we're
at a
gonna.
time. Amendments are always one at a time. All right. So we have a motion from Councilmember Papenfort, seconded by Councilmember Curtelli. And the motion is to amend the rezone from 207 North D from MN to MD. Further discussion on that? Okay. And then my understanding is we'll do the other one, and then we'll come back to the motion as amended. Is that right? We don't have to go back to the original motion now as a,
Correct, I would vote on each amendment, however
We need
many
to
it might
vote
be.
on that
okay,
amendment.
okay, very good. Further discussion? Go ahead.
Okay. Critelli,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Papenfort,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay.
Okay, so that's check.
Now you have,
Now, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
Yes.
make an amendment to
okay.
I move to make an amendment to ordinance 2025-18, approving a comprehensive rezone of the official zoning map of the city of Salida and adopting an updated zoning map by amending the golf course parcel to OS Parks and Open
Wait,
Space.
I'm sorry, amending golf course parcel,
Is that what I call it? The golf-
It's 404, what's the
Grant.
grants?
404 Grant Street
404 Grant Street, okay.
to OS Parks and Open Space.
OS Parks and Open Space, okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Martin, and the motion is to approve ordinance 2025-18, approving the rezone with the amendment of 404 Grant Street as OS Parks and Open Space. Further discussion?
I would like to just add that my vote is going to reflect what I think our job is, which is to keep the city flexible and able to do things.
Okay.
And that's why I'll be voting the way I'm
Okay,
voting.
okay, very good.
I'll just, add on to that, that I think responsible land use planning means keeping our options open for the long term.
Okay.
And that once that land is, if that land were designated as parks and open space, it becomes very challenging to consider other community serving uses in the future. And it may even challenge or put at risk a golf course operating there.
Okay.
So I'd like to take a measured approach that maintains flexibility while we continue broader planning discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion before we go to a vote on the second amendment? Go ahead. Thanks.
Stevens,
Yes.
Nacarado,
No.
Pappenfort,
No.
Critelli,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, so that will bring us back to the original motion. We haven't gotten quite there yet. The original motion as amended, and to approve ordinance 2025-18, approving a comprehensive rezone of the official zoning map of the city of Salida and adopting an updated zoning map with the amendments of 207 North D going from MN to MD, and by amending the 404 Grant Street property to OS Parks and Open Space. Further discussion?
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, thank you all. And that'll take us to new business, and I suspect a more empty room.
New business.
Wait, this is SRO stuff, guys. It's really,
What?
It is important, isn't it?
well, I mean.
Okay, yeah. Does anyone need a 5-minute break?
Please.
Yes.
Okay, 5-minute break.
Okay, fine.
I took mine, Meryl, I took mine early. I couldn't.
Reasoning for the school district not paying the 50%? I mean, have they offered a reason?
So if we go back in time, originally, we had a 50-50 agreement, and then they requested to add a second one, and we agreed. They paid one, we paid one, and then COVID hit. They had some funding challenges, they pulled back, and then the school incident hit, and then they wanted to do away with it, and the council stepped up and said we would fund it 100%. So we've been at that number since that incident, and because it's such an important program for us. At this point, we asked for half. They said they have some budget issues still ongoing, but they're willing to pay 30 and then continue the discussion. So hopefully over the next couple of school years, we can get that to 50%.
That'd be awesome.
Thank
We won't stop trying.
We were coming out of COVID, we were a little more flush.
That is true.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-42, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Salida and the Salida School District.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort. The motion is to approve Resolution 2025-42, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Salida and the Salida School District. Further discussion?
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Motion passed.
And next up, Resolution 2025-43, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, certifying delinquent charges, assessments, or taxes to the Chaffee County Treasurer to be added to the 2025 tax roll. And I'm hoping no one sitting up here on the dais is on that list. Please go ahead.
They are not. There are 9 members on the, or citizens on the list, which is 2 more than last year. But this is our annual process to certify delinquent utility accounts to Chaffee County Treasurer. This allows the city to recover unpaid water and sewer charges by placing them on the property tax roll. We do not collect property tax, but we can still put these liens on the property, and it's collected with the tax by the county. And then they pay us back. We currently have, as I already said, 9 delinquent accounts totaling $6,139. And this process ensures the city is eventually reimbursed for their services. Any questions?
It's pretty straightforward to me.
Mr.
Very
Mayor,
small number, actually.
Yeah, go.
Oh, did you? Oh, I was gonna go. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2025-43 to certify delinquent charges, assessments, or taxes to the Chaffee County Treasurer to be added to the 2025 tax roll.
Second.
So motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Critelli. The motion is to approve Resolution 2025-43 to certify delinquent charges, assessments, or taxes to the Chaffee County Treasurer to be added to the 2025 tax roll. Further discussion?
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
yes.
motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Resolution 2025-44, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the subdivision improvement and inclusionary housing agreement for the Mesa Ridge subdivision. Thanks for sticking around.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been an interesting one, you know. Good evening, everybody. So here to talk about the resolution 2025-44, approving the subdivision improvement agreement and inclusionary housing agreement for Mesa Ridge. So as you might remember, the Mesa Ridge major subdivision was approved back by City Council in July. And this is the last and final step of the major subdivision process, just kind of finalizing the SIA. Some time has passed between the original approval and now. The developer just needed to work on getting the plats in shape, work with Public Works on some of the civil drawings and improvements and other necessities of the agreement. Some of the attorneys went back and forth on some of the language. The 2 main parts of the SIA, which are discussed in the staff report, are mostly just to establish the standards for development and a financial guarantee, and then the inclusionary housing agreement piece as well. These are more like specific to this development pieces of a typical SIA. And, so again, I don't want to go over too much information on the inclusionary housing piece, but these stem from the conditions that were approved as part of originally the annexation agreement, and then adopted into the subdivision improvement, or sorry, major subdivision approval as conditions. So nothing too new here. It's kind of mostly just the last step. If you guys had any questions on the SIA, I'm happy to answer them.
Anyone have questions? Looks pretty straightforward.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2025-44, approving the subdivision improvements and inclusionary housing agreement with the Mesa Ridge Major Subdivision.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Fontana, and the motion is to approve Resolution 2025-44, approving the subdivision improvements and inclusionary housing agreement for the Mesa Ridge Major Subdivision. Further discussion?
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Pappenford,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, and then that takes us to Resolution 2025-45, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the subdivision plat for the South Arc Neighborhood Major Subdivision and replat. This is a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you. All right, I do have a presentation tonight. Sorry, guys, I know it's late.
Can
all right.
I make a motion to extend the meeting?
I think you need to.
Well, I'm curious, because we have
Sure.
15 minutes before 9. How long is your,
I don't want you to rush through
Look at her.
your,
It's a public hearing, so maybe just in case you extend
okay,
it.
yep, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I move to extend the meeting until 9:30.
Yeah, that's, I think,
Second.
yeah, great. Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Critelli. The motion is to extend the meeting to 9:30. Further discussion?
I hope we don't need to.
I don't think we will. Go ahead.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Pappenford,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, back to you.
Take your
Council.
time, please.
And we are in a public hearing.
All right, so general information, this is a major impact review. So Planning Commission and City Council public hearings. You guys can approve with conditions, deny or remand the application. So the City of Salida is the landowner for this land and is the applicant. So just as a point of reminder, we didn't have to do a concept review for this, and there won't be an SIA like what we just reviewed. Those are standard pieces of the process, which you don't have to do if you own the land. All right. So a little bit of background on this land. So 2006 is when the Vanderveer Ranch overall development plan was established. And that that includes the land that's circled in red all the way over to the Confluent Park and south of that also, and on the other side of Highway 50. So everywhere kind of shown in that dark green outlined line over to the right. In 2011, there was a general plan development modification, which we call the PD, and that's what this snip on the right-hand side is taken from. So that established what we called Vanderveer planned areas, otherwise known as VPAs. And mostly just we had a better sense of how this might be developed one day, so some minor modifications needed to be, or not minor, modifications needed to happen on that land. In 2019, Confluent Park PD, which is VPA 3, I noted over here on the right, it's kind of hard to see, but that was also a part of the Vanderveer changes that have happened. And then in 2023, the South Arc Neighborhood PD and master plan was established. A little bit of background on the South Arc Neighborhood piece. So this was primarily to redefine what we called VPAs into South Arc neighborhood areas, now called SAs. And we have 3 of these SAs in the South Arc neighborhood area. And SA1 is low to mid density residential. It's that pink color. SA2 is mid to high density residential, that orange color. And SA3 is high density residential with limited commercial uses, including public, institutional, and recreational. And then what you see in green is parks and open space. So this is the first phase of the planned subdivision. And I've kind of tried to outline it down here in the dark outline, this kind of funky shape. The whole gray is the South Arc neighborhood, but just this piece down here is phase 1, and that's what we're talking about tonight. And I'll point out in the next slide where phases 2 and 3 are located. So the details of the request at hand right now is for the first phase to implement the South Arc Neighborhood Master Plan. It's about 12 acres and has 55 total lots, 10 tracks for open space, drainage, and stormwater, and includes public streets. And then you can kind of see here in the picture to the right, dashed in, I have noted where phases 2 and 3 are anticipated. And then we have, the next slide shows a picture of the plat. And then on the next slide, I've kind of overlaid that original South Arc master plan. I've kind of like ghosted it into the background of our current plat, just to kind of help show that we are sticking with our original intent of the master plan. Basically like where we are planning to develop and what densities are going where. All right, so the next slide, we have some review standards. The proposed subdivision is keeping with the goals and works to implement the South Arc Neighborhood Master Plan. While there is no construction specifically proposed as part of this subdivision, there is adequate space on the lots to comply with the codes. The proposed streets and lots and streets are logically arranged. Lots identified for development would avoid the wetlands and riparian habitats. Parks and open space requirements were met as part of the plan development process. Also, as we know, Public Works has been heavily involved in the plat design process and is working on the infrastructure and bid. And lastly, just wanted to point out that the master plan lays out inclusionary housing requirements, which are significantly more robust than what's currently required in our code. About 50% of the units are planned to be affordable, whereas the current code only requires about 16. This is a snip from the infrastructure bid. It just kind of helps to show like the overall infrastructure that's planned, a little bit of the trails. I know it's kind of hard to read, but we did get some public comment about how the trails will be maintained and what areas might stay as open space. So kind of just included this if there's any questions on that. And I think that's it.
Okay, so we have that. Questions before we see if there's anyone that signed up for public comment?
Is there still, I guess earlier in the phase, there was talk about rerouting a section of the Little Arkansas? Is that still?
Of the river itself.
Yes, the river itself.
Yes,
Is that still
and
in the?
I know Bill has been more involved in that process.
Yeah, there's a parallel process going on with the Watershed Collaborative here in the lower end of the county to look at restoration of the South Arc stretch from approximately CR 107 all the way to the confluence with the main arc. And part of that does go through the city property. So there's discussion right now. They do have some designs, preliminary designs for a potential reroute of a little bit of the South Arc and additional restoration and recreational facilities there. That's something we anticipate getting a presentation on later on this year.
Where would be the reroute? Again, I'm sorry.
Far north, what they're looking at is, you see where the mini storage units are?
Yeah, the big bin here with the big blowout.
These deals, yeah, so they're looking at something in this area right here, because there's been a lot of, because of traditional historical grazing south of the river. You've lost all the vegetation, and so a lot of the river is starting to erode away to the south. And so they're looking at treatments they might be able to do to move the river a little bit to the north and then bring it back in via old historical channel.
Oh, yeah, that's the only thing, part of, I think, the whole process of this thing that's kind of hit me in a kind of a weird way, like taking a natural flowing kind of river and redirecting it to, for our liking. I think leaving a natural flow alone is is something that I prefer anyway. That's just, I just wanted to.
Yeah, and that has absolutely nothing to do with the subdivision plating process, though. But certainly something we'll hear about later on this year.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I was wondering if either one of you could speak to any floodplains that exist in this area. And the reason why I'm asking is I'm concerned that there could be grants that would not be, people couldn't apply to if they're developing there. Maybe if they're doing affordable housing or something, if there's a floodplain.
So
nearby.
specifically in phase 1, there's no riparian or floodplain areas. Even in phases 2 and 3, they steer pretty clear of where the floodplain area goes. So here's the South Arc, and you can imagine the South Arc is lower and has less banks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty wide around here. Over here on these developments, they have some retaining walls, don't quote me on that, but most of this is going to remain in open parks and open space, even in the later phases.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was discussion about, maybe collaborating with Fading West as far, in the same way that we would CMC and CHT. And I just didn't know, has that list been updated, upgraded? I mean, when we were discussing previous meeting about Vero Touch, I don't know if that list of potential resources partners has grown or shrunk or
I mean,
the same?
the list hasn't really changed very much. I mean, as new players come in, of course, we think about all that, but we're planning on bringing on an owner's representative who will help with the strategic plan for getting it developed out here. And I'm sure that'll be part of the conversation, is to talk with folks, developers of all types and sizes and everything else, to see how we might be able to actually accomplish what the PD requires out there.
Okay, and that would also help with just really narrowing in on a timeline, an actual timing of rollout,
Yeah, for construction and everything else, yep.
Okay.
The first phase obviously is just the infrastructure. You gotta get that in before you can build any of the homes.
Okay. Thank you.
And maybe I missed a possible start date for infrastructure. I know we have to go through a few more things here. Possible start date for that. Maybe I missed it.
David, I'm gonna look at David, he's back there.
Oh, he thought he was gonna get off the hook.
I didn't know this was here.
That's 3 hours of patience
shine.
for.
Welcome, David.
Yeah, so in the consent agenda was the award for the construction, so I had the last 3 hours to put all that paperwork together. It's off to the contractor, and hopefully we have signatures tomorrow, so, yeah, it kind of
Great
depends
use
on the
of time.
contractor's schedule, so.
I
was kind of. But I think there are a couple.
You're forgiven.
I think you'll probably see infrastructure starting early winter if the weather accommodates it. There are some components, like CDOT access, or CDOT permits for the utilities that are pending, but a lot can start very soon, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you say that
Best news all night.
contract was awarded to?
YNK excavation.
Yeah, I read it.
Any other questions before we see if there's public comment?
Could I be provided that map of the infrastructure and also the map of the essays over the plat, that ghost one?
Sure. I think David, was this map a part of tonight's packet?
It's not over the.
Okay,
Illustrious.
we can provide it.
Yeah, that one in particular is good.
Okay, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
There's not.
We don't, and no one online?
No.
Okay, so there's no need for rebuttal. I'll go ahead and close the hearing, and that'll take us to preliminary council discussion. Who'd like to begin?
I'd offer a motion.
I would take a motion.
I move to approve resolution
Did you want to say something?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I move to approve resolution 2025-45, approving the South Ark Neighborhood Major Subdivision.
Second.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Fontana. The motion is to approve Resolution 2025-45, approving the South Ark Neighborhood Major Subdivision. Further discussion?
I'm excited to see progress on this, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for.
Yeah, thanks
all
for
your
all the
work.
hard work.
Critelli,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Nacarado.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, good work, thank you. And then, last item on the agenda, and I think someone is going to be put on the spot potentially. Resolution 2025-46, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving appointments to the Chafee Housing Authority Board.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you the same agenda item we had a couple of weeks ago. It just has a different resolution number. So tonight it's 2546. Asking you all to appoint someone to the Chafee Housing Authority Board. Again, Charlie Goodson was appointed. He stepped down. And his appointment expires on the 31st of January, 2027. Council has the opportunity to appoint two board members to the Housing Authority Board. You have one right now with Councilmember Nacarado. So we have before you this resolution for you to appoint someone else. We did not receive any applications when we posted it for applications. So that's why you don't see a name or any information about interviews on there. So happy to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, looking for a recommendation.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I move resolution 2025-46, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, appointing Elisa Pappenfort to the Chafee Housing Authority Board, term to expire January 31, 2027.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Martin. And the motion is to approve Resolution 2025-46, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, appointing Elisa Pappenfort to the Chafee Housing Authority Board, term to expire January 31st, 2027. Further discussion?
Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a beautiful motion. Go ahead.
Amazing.
Fontana,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And we are on to council reports. Councilmember Pappenfort.
I want to say that I went to the hospital's Delney Guest House grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony. What a beautiful facility. That was just such a treat. And then I was surprised to see Picey Hilton's picture there because I didn't realize that he was involved. I had always heard that he had given half of Hilton had given Hilton to his employees. Turns out that was half of it. And the other half is still doing good stuff in the community, like the Delney Guest House. The downstairs was all for patients who live 30 miles or more away, and the upstairs was all temporary housing for staff. And it was just fantastic, and I got to meet the designer, so it was just an exciting day, a really cool event. And then as far as the rumor that we are selling the swimming pool, no, we are not selling the swimming pool. Again, the survey always says people love to get their information by word of mouth, and there's a limiting factor to word of mouth. Like I like to say about a small town, if we don't know what you're doing, it doesn't matter, because we just make it up. And that is just so true with city business as well. You know, could the city sell off some assets? As we learned tonight, not without a vote of the people. And so we have no plans to sell off our precious assets that make Salida Salida. And then finally, I want to congratulate myself for my new position on the CHA board.
Yes.
Go ahead, give yourself a pat on the back.
Somebody has to.
Okay. Councilmember Curtelli, see if you can beat that.
No, I can't. The art walk starts this Thursday and goes to Sunday, so, you know, be out in the community. There's some really cool, art installations and just things to do. There's also, the Theater Fest is wrapping up this weekend as well at a church. And there's a show there with some people in it, and that's all I have, thanks.
Apparently, the mayor will be volunteering on Friday night.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, I was volunteered.
Voluntold.
Yes, but not even begrudgingly. Councilmember Nacarado.
Hey, thank you, Councilmember Papenfort, for stepping forward to serve on the CHA. I really appreciate that too. And I wanted to bring up bringing in the Chaffey County Community Foundation to our October 20th work session. Since we're having a hearing about the budget on October 21st, I would really like to revisit the funding of the Community Foundation. I think that they will have some information for us that I'd feel more comfortable discussing before discussing the budget on the 21st. So I'm wondering if I can get a second for that.
Second, yeah.
Let's hear from Betsy.
Thank you. And then the second item is to potentially revisit the fuller funding of the co-response program. Again, before we work to approve the budget on October 21st, I'm just becoming more aware about how important this program is and how important our collaboration is with the county on that one. As far as, I think both items have the potential to save city money through the police department, through upstream services, being like pre-arrest services, saving the police department money and therefore the city. And so can I get a second for revisiting the co-response discussion?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, Councilmember Martin.
All right. I've heard from a few constituents. They are interested in having a ward map printed in the Mountain Mail and for Arc Valley as well, just for the upcoming election. So I was wondering if we could direct staff to having that printed. I think maybe like Sarah Law would probably be doing that.
And emailing them the map, the word map, so they could put it in the paper, or?
Yeah.
It's available on our website. I mean, but I could do that.
Yeah, I guess I feel like the city should ask for the paper to have that printed.
And I don't think we should pay for it.
I was
You
gonna
know.
say it's super
Okay.
expensive.
Yeah,
It's also informative.
but maybe it could be a little article telling you where to find the ward map. Maybe you want to suggest that.
Yeah.
I'll check with them tomorrow and see.
Okay. And then I also have been asked recently, if we could get clear, like, education pieces out maybe about how, if bikes are treated as pedestrians or vehicles in traffic. I guess there's confusion amongst the community about how to properly bike. I don't know if there's I don't know, my assumption is that they are treated as vehicles.
I think that's right.
Yeah, you can get a DUI on a bike, right?
Correct.
So the driver's manual would be the resource.
Biking while.
Chief Johnson, is that right, that bicyclists are treated as vehicles, right?
The million-dollar question is, how do you legislate entitled behavior when people just
Good
zip
luck with
right
that.
through?
Yeah.
That is not correct. There's different classifications right now with bicycles. There's pedal assist, there's electric. There's also different types of motorized, like kind of e-bike type things that are more motorcycle classified than bicycle. I've got something that we've been working on the last couple of weeks, and we should have something out on that to the community.
Awesome.
The SRO's getting with the school district to get it out to all the students. And then, once we get that done, we'll have it out to the community as well.
Great, thank you. Chief, you might want to stay up for a second. I heard some residents who live either in or near the Confluent Park area, and they mentioned that there's not currently a speed limit set there, and there are no signs there for a speed limit. So I was curious if that's something we could.
Yeah, there's areas around the community that don't have signs. Any roadway that's not signed is 25 miles an hour. But I can work with Public Works and David to try to get something over there.
Okay, thank you. And then, yeah, I heard also the golf course lease, there's asked for there to be like a longer period than that. So I don't know if that's something that we as a council need to give direction to, having a longer lease.
For that, if that's what we do.
Oh, I was waiting for maybe see Christy to jump in. I know that they're currently negotiating and it'll come in front of you, so.
Okay.
I think
great.
they're negotiating a 10-year lease right now, but maybe Christy could hop in.
Yeah, it doesn't expire for another 18 months, so we're kind of in the beginning stages. So, you know, there have been conflicting requests from council and staff on the length of the lease. So I think once we get to the point of having all of the other details ironed out, we can negotiate the timing for that.
Okay, thank you. And that is it for me tonight. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Stevens.
Nothing for me tonight.
Okay, Councilmember Fontana.
I have a couple things. Try not to say the word often. I would like to thank the Salida Greater Recreation Board for all they do for the city of Salida. It's really nice if you're gonna go golfing right now. At the end of the season, October, the leaves are beautiful. The day that it closes is October 31st. So if you'd like to play before that. I'm gonna leave any finance updates to our city treasurer because we did not have a meeting. We will have one in 2 weeks. Mentioning Art Walk, also 4-day event, celebrates a lot of Salida art, so try to get out there for Art Walk. Thank you. This is just a note for downtown. I'd like to thank David Lady and his crew. F Street construction, it looks like it's progressing very well down there. And I've had some feedback from some local residents who live down there. They're very impressed. They wouldn't have said that a few months ago, so I appreciate it. It looks like F Street will possibly be open in time for Halloween, I'm hoping. While several prominent businesses have recently closed down downtown, some new ones have opened, and others have even gone to bigger spaces, which is a good thing. I want to express gratitude to our entire business community for their investment in Salida and for collecting the taxes that fund our city's resources and our services. Small businesses are the backbone of Salida's economy and culture, and we all need them to thrive here in the city of Salida. So I'd like to thank small businesses at this point, especially considering the loves going on. So I really want to appreciate that.
Okay.
And that's all for me.
Okay, I just have a couple things tonight. First off, I want to extend my gratitude to Small Town for a Cause. I thought it was seamless. I didn't get any complaints. I know Christy didn't get any complaints. And I want to thank staff for working really well with them. And I'm excited to have them back. I think that's the first time that it's been a complaint-free zone for something in my 8 years I've served up here. So I'd like to continue that. The other thing I want to mention to the public is that we have 3 candidate events coming up in the next week or so. Tomorrow, no, let's see, on the 8th, which is tomorrow, at the Tower Building, Heart of the Rockies is hosting a forum. They'll open the doors at 5. It'll start at 5:30. On the 9th, in the Scout Hut, there'll be a candidate meet and greet from 4 to 6 p.m. And then lastly, on October 16th, the League of Women Voters from 6 to 8:30 will be hosting a forum at the Poncha Town Hall. And that's all that I have. Anything from our attorney?
I just wanted to celebrate all the work that you all did today. I think sometimes we go through all these long meetings and we forget all the work that, I know staff has put a lot of work in, you all still do too. So that's all I have to say for now, given the time.
Thanks. Treasurer report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will continue the budget discussion in the Finance Committee meeting on the 20th. I did take notes. Obviously, there was a request to revisit the Chaffey County Community Foundation's funding in the budget. We will add that to the agenda for the Finance Committee so we can look at it a little bit closer and advise council appropriately. And also the full funding for the first responder program, we will do the same. So that's the end of my report.
Okay, fantastic. Any department updates?
Since I'm not sitting in the room and I usually make eye contact with you when you all give me something to do, I just want to confirm that I will bring forward with Betsy Dittmer from the Community Foundation, the conversation about the Community Foundation funding as well as the co-response program to the work session on the 20th.
Yep. That's
Thanks.
great. Thank you. All that remains, and with 15 minutes to spare, would be a motion to
I move
adjourn.
we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good work, everybody.
Good work, everybody. Good work.